Asian, it has everything to do with your twisted prophet. So stop falling.
So what do you believe in? Are you Jewish or you're...
No, I don't like this. That's what it is. I just don't like Muslim beginnings.
Nobody likes Muslim beginnings.
The thing is, they've just been sold something that, but at the same time...
That they shouldn't practice. How come it's hijacked? That's been my question since like half an hour ago.
Muslims always
Yeah, but you keep threatening me. So for me, I have to start from the beginning.
No, you have to just tell me what do they practice.
You have to go back. So did the Christians do really?
Okay, move this thing to the audience, please. Can someone move it?
I don't think.
Move this nigger to them.
We're really kick this nigger.
It doesn't matter. Okay, kick her or move her to the audience, but whatever.
The audience. The next time she speaks on go ahead, speak, baby.
Well, we don't have to agree.
Well, what's your evidence?
They kicked her. She said something. It's retarded, bro. So stupid. There's nothing wrong with Islam, but there's something wrong with Muslims. So it's not Islam, it's the Muslims. Why? Because they do exactly what Islam tells them to do. Okay, so they've been fed a different type of Islam. Okay, so what are they practicing that they shouldn't practice, bro? That really shouldn't be that hard for you to say. If you believe that there is an Islam and then there's another Islam that those people have received, it should then be clear to you what are they doing that they shouldn't be doing as according to the true Islam. Go ahead, she can't have this. It's wild, bro. Just so dumb.
Her class is full of Birkin bags, George bags, all the other stuff. Very sweet ass.
She does sound like
She's so retarded that the ass must be very nice. There's gotta be some sort of balance. Usually the drawback is it's a dumb bitch. I'm not sure that it's very possible. I've interacted with her somewhat of it.
Doesn't break, so I want to elaborate. I want him to explain.
It's like,
yeah, but Kate Bobo has been dead for a long while. Yeah, she's not showing up.
oh shit,
I don't know. I wasn't in Ottawa this weekend, so I couldn't show off. But
I didn't even know long ago. This is my first day.
I mean,
I'm here for more than 20 minutes. Kate just gets that little where it's just she doesn't hear other people talk. She just keeps going.
yeah.
Yeah, we set up program
Yeah, Kate Bobo has a sweet ass. She actually does, but she's drinking her life away, basically.
oh, it's liberation. Are you talking about that female from Toronto, Big One?
No, fuck no. Oh my god, bro. I always think her. It's just just can't. Look, she's always on drugs. It's wild.
I love niggers. I'll say I love niggers.
That's right.
Did you see this Candace released? Which one? You mean Candace Owens? Can you hear me? Oh, it's working. Can you tell us? Yeah, I'll play it. My voice is like, hold on. There's a group text that is allegedly this is 48 hours before he was killed. Let's see. Charlie text just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker Carlson. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Someone responded to us. Charlie said Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot will not be bullied like this. Leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Damn. That's allegedly that's Charlie Kirk's what Charlie Kirk was texting in a group chat to like his people. They're not saying exactly who it's part of. I guess Rob McCoy and Josh Hammer and 6 others. I don't know who either of those people are. So they have 6 others who are also in the chat.
What was his age?
So, yeah. So the part that they're showing is it's Charlie saying just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker Carlson. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. I don't really understand that context there. Someone replied us. And then Charlie responded, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this. It's leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Which is like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like a weird thing to say, actually. But,
Well,
I don't know what he means by bullied. That's the interesting thing.
Intimidated probably if you want to do this and that. Things like that. They don't have blackmail on him because he's young. So Epstein didn't get blackmail on him. They don't have anyone who has blackmail. Young people aren't really on the radar as much as the older folk. Like Joe Biden, there's a lot of dirt on him. Trump, there's a lot of dirt on him, etc., etc., etc. A young guy, hey, the Mossad will struggle a little bit to find, especially someone like Kirk, who's actually conservative and all that stuff. You're gonna have a hard time saying he has child porn, you know. So the Mossad definitely, like Israel, definitely struggles when it comes to, like, you know. So they pay him or whatever, but then anyways, he has the ability to rebel against them. I feel, and that's what he was a war, accepting their money, but then he decided to flip and they killed him.
beautiful. Well, it doesn't seem like it's not necessarily he decided to flip. He refused to comply.
Correct.
Basically, they wanted him to.
He was complying.
Tucker Carlson.
Well, he was complying. He was complying and they were taking their money, and he was. Yeah,
He was trying to get their shekels before the shekel got him. It'd be interesting to look at their tax pay filings and shit to see like what were they. You know, I know he was like trying to do a legit cause, but what were they doing with all that money? Because I mean, they had a lot of money throwing them. Yeah, it's $500 million. I don't like. I'm just curious. Like, what does that actually get spent on?
I don't know. They just give you money to do whatever they want.
I mean, he created an amazing.
You will accept the money. You will accept the money because it's money, and you will accept it. But if you and they make you look good and whatever because they control other things. If you go against them, they hope you never go against them because they're giving you the money. But if you go against them, they have blackmail. It just so happens that this guy is no longer accepting their money, but they have nothing against him. So then they have to kill him, which just goes without. It's really Yeah, it just makes perfect sense. I don't see. Anyways, to my mind, it was obviously the Jews who killed Kirk since the beginning.
I'm
They
still
killed Jesus, what makes them think they won't kill his followers?
Yeah, I don't think Kirk was he's a Protestant, but still, they have every reason to. Trump is so stupid, bro. He's being played like crazy by that. I respect Netanyahu, bro. I actually respect Netanyahu. Either Trump is so stupid and he's being played, or the guy is really cut, like hardcore blackmail.
Oh, he's definitely blackmail, dude.
So we need
Look at him as first term versus this term. It's fucking pathetic.
You know what? I'm looking forward to JD Vance because that guy is also young. So likely they don't have blackmail on him. Hey, let's see. I don't know.
I mean, then why did they try to take out Trump? He's the
What about your boy,
next guy in line.
Bro, someone needs to deal with all the English kinds.
What about Vivek?
Deal with them. Oh, child goes down.
I don't know. I think whoever took out Kirk also tried to take out Trump.
It's probably the same group. Yeah. I mean, if you're dumb enough to believe that it's the Iranis are crying out. Okay.
I hope they don't do nothing to Sam Shimon.
No, we know. The Jews are all over. It's always all the pointers are towards Israel. Bro. It's just very clear. Only those who don't want to see it are.
Look, I'm leaning in a different direction, but it's sort of kind of by like you could say is also inherently Israeli. I'm still leaning towards like a rogue faction of like the CIA or something, which you could just argue is controlled by Israel. So
I just don't know why you don't want to go there. I don't know why you don't want to go.
I'm not like there's such a mystery and there's so many odd things with this that it's a possibility, sure. But it's not all that clear to me. Because
There's George Zan, who was
I don't put that much weight into the guys as you do.
Zan is a very important guy. But there's George Zan.
But why do you need a decoy for the decoy, dude?
Well, I don't believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk.
Right. So why do you need that?
Because you don't want people to pay attention to the actual shooter.
But that's why you have Tyler, whatever the fuck his name is.
No,
Not the actual shooter. I don't think he's a shooter either.
No, that's just the guy we're gonna play. That doesn't mean
anything. Right. So it's like, if anything, you don't want to like really deviate away from the path in this case.
I'm telling you that there's another shooter that we don't want you to focus on. So we need. Right. I don't think Tyler is a decoy. I think Tyler is a scapegoat. Zin is a decoy.
But it's just the purpose that it served is kind of irrelevant, dude. He still would have gotten, quote unquote, away had like 3 cops not thrown him in.
Yeah, bro, let me tell you this whole thing very quick, okay? And please don't interrupt me. The cameras show you where the shooter was. We could have seen the video of him shooting. The FBI didn't release that. What they released is him running without a gun, just FYI. He never had the gun. The gun has always been in the forest. Tyler on the roof, if that's even Tyler, I don't even think it is. That guy on the roof isn't the shooter. Okay. So then there's Zim, who's an Ashkenazi Jew used as a decoy, just like he was in 9/11, just like he was later on with the bombing in 2013. the Jew. And then there's the security team of Kirk, run by a Jew, who have several drones, and they were unable to see anything worthy of an investigation. No one talks about it. Then there's Netanyahu claiming, before we get to Netanyahu, then there's the text between Tyler and his boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that is, clearly staged. Clearly, very clearly, like I don't believe that text for shit, and they don't even show the whole thing. Okay, I wonder why. Then there's the Netanyahu coming to you with an alleged letter without even showing it to you, or any of that stuff, making it seem like, what's his name? Kirk is a super big friend to Israel because he has been in the past, but we know in the past 2 months he hasn't. We know that. Okay, so you're coming with a fake letter, you're not even showing it, and you're making such statements. When we've seen him being threatened by, what's his name, this Bill Ackman guy, we've seen him be pressured and all of that stuff. And now you're saying we find that there's him saying what he's saying in that group, or chat group, whatever, that he's no longer going to be bullied by Israel and so on. I don't see how it doesn't make sense to you, because Israel is all over it in terms of the security team.
They're all over him inherently. Look, just about everything you're saying, in the Zen part.
So
that was my position like 2 weeks ago, and you were fighting me on it.
It's not just the Zen part, bro. There's Zen. There's the guy for the security team, Jews. And then there's Netanyahu.
The Netanyahu thing is very. That's the thing that, like, far more than the Zen guy.
Right.
For really mentioning
Israel. Offering him a trip to Israel. We know what that means.
Very bizarre.
But no, it's not very bizarre. Everything.
You know what I fucking mean. You know what I mean.
Every single thing points to Israel. Every single fucking thing points to Israel. It's just that simple. Israel is the only beneficiary. Israel is the only one with motive, and Israel is the only one with opportunity. Hey, I'm sorry. Motive, opportunity. And you're the only beneficiary, not just motive. No, you're the only one with motive. Okay, so, to my mind, it is very...
they're not the only one with motive. No, that's not true.
Well, they're the only beneficiary.
It's also... look, if you... any group of... well, I mean, it depends on how the aftermath happens. Like, if you think it's something like prior going into it, if killing him somehow divides, the right wing or the far right somehow, then there's plenty of people that benefit.
Okay, bro, I'm not into hypotheticals. The result is benefiting. The only one benefiting is Israel. Who else benefited?
I don't look. There is an argument that Israel benefits. There's also an argument that they don't. So it depends on how you.
How will they benefit? And that's the question: is who else benefited?
I mean, I think it's too early to fucking tell, to be honest.
Bro, come on, man. Come on.
I think it's too early to tell.
No, I think it's right here.
Oh yeah, you think a lot of things are clear. You flip-flop on things.
No, I don't. That's pretty clear. But it's
You literally argue with me
I told you
a month ago. What do you mean? He's got a gun. It's in his bag.
No, I don't. It's not in his bag.
That's where you were arguing. It's you've got a gun. It's
Bro, I didn't say that.
Hello?
I didn't say that. I said you can unband. It takes a long time for you to disassemble the gun. It's a lot. The big coin room said you got bands.
Yeah, they did a room in my honor.
What happened to you when it comes?
The most is got me clipped.
I never did it.
Come on. Yeah, because in the room earlier. That's how much I told us to report you. I told them don't. No, you didn't do this. Shut the fuck up, David. You fucking suck.
Anyway, Betas,
don't even talk to you. I didn't tell you anything.
Wait, David, you son of a bitch, wait. Wo ist dein Problem, wenn ich das weiß?
Nein, kein Deutsch, ja. Sie müssen alle verstehen.
She don't understand.
German, I guess.
Yeah, she don't understand German. It's fucked up.
I don't.
He said, so was it, do you agree with the rabbi that it was Israel that killed Jonah? It is literally just, how can you not understand what he says? He's asking you if you have a problem with him knowing.
Thank you.
Yes. No.
But that's not what you said. What you said is...
I said no German.
I know what you said, but what
Yeah,
is
she
it?
don't understand, so yeah.
Ja,
Was aber ihr?
kein Deutsch. Weil die alle verstehen sollen.
She sound like a refugee.
German.
Ja, I sound like a refugee.
But she is a refugee.
That is okay.
Never speak German again, please. Make us all a favor.
It's pretty interesting because my German comprehension is even better than French.
Yeah. Oui. Je m'appelle Rabbi.
Je ne sais pas. Il ne parle français.
Just keep it safe.
To see.
The only good that you know is your good.
Everything I know is good. Otherwise, I wouldn't know it. I only know goodness. He said, who killed Charlie Kirk? Obviously, the Jews.
Oh my god.
See? It's very obvious, bro. You guys are so dumb.
That's just so stupid.
It's so dumb, man. Yeah, you are so dumb. It's just very obvious that everything points to one direction. Luke is agree. I'm not convinced. We're still not even fucking certain how exactly he was killed, dude. Yeah, because there's a decoy. No, I'm talking about like which direction did it come from? Not exactly which direction it came from. It came from like 4 o'clock. This bitch is so wild.
Hey, you Jordanian shawarma eating faggot loser. Everything leads to Israel, huh? You are one pathetic, really pathetic, low IQ loser. What kind of a loser goes around calls himself a rabbi? He's a Jordanian shawarma goat-looking faggot. And he's going to sit here and say,
بتاعي هنا في الغرب ولا the original. She did that much. She's not bad.
She's not bad. No, you were joking.
I'm sorry, AB. We not used to white.
There's some system over that, some shit like that. Nice time.
Yeah, we don't talk about it because we want to preserve our relationships in real life.
Right.
For example, my oldest daughter during COVID, unfortunately, went to one of the best design schools in the world, not just in the United States, in the world. And she came back not with her full degree, but completely indoctrinated. I can't talk to her. Can't talk to her about Charlie Kirk. I can't talk to her about issues related to LGBTQ or she lives in New York. She loves Mandami. She wants to be. I can't tell her anything. I can't talk to her. She might not be my daughter anymore if she knew how I felt. That's terrifying. I love her.
Oh.
This is very personal. Like that's what people just don't get. Some of it's very personal.
And there's so much fear there. Like you love your child, and if they knew, like they will make you a monster. They'll separate themselves from you because they're told.
To her other siblings and try to get them to not talk to me either. And I'll be out here with 4 kids who don't talk to me.
And that
That's why
story,
you're quiet.
that story, you're not alone. and then so you're lying by omission to save a relationship, and they don't understand the dangers of communism. They don't understand that socialism ends in death. Like it's marked in history, and people are ignoring it. When you do, you love your kid. You don't want them not to talk to you ever. It's terrible. You're not alone, Pinko. You're not alone.
And I'm sorry,
And
there's no, listen,
there's some, I never pay, you know, there's so many parents who didn't pay attention to what the public schools and the universities were teaching the children. Like, it's a betrayal of trust. Parents sent their kids to you so that they could have a good life, and instead you've made them angry, bitter, and afraid. How dare you?
yeah, I mean, we spent, do you know how much the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan costs? And to have my daughter come back and I don't even recognize her, and all she got was an AA degree, and struggling, just living in New York, just believing that everything should be given to her, that I can't talk to her. I love this girl. You guys, what they have done, they made it okay for kids to say, if you don't think the way I do, I don't care if you're my parent, my brother, sister, aunt, or uncle. I don't care if I grew up with you and we were best friends. I will abandon you. I will cease the relationship. I will block and delete you like you never existed. I don't get it. I don't. This is why I hate them. I'm gonna be honest. I hate them. I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but I hate what they do.
I definitely want to speak on this.
Yeah, real quickly, Stephen, I know you've been waiting, but I'm saying real fast too. Real fast. If people are not forget or not aware of the woman who killed their father at the beginning of the year when Trump got into office, he got elected. There was a white woman who killed her father for Trump. You don't know that. That's political violence too. She killed her father. You can look the story up. Today, I think that he got inaugurated. And shit like that, to your point, what you're saying, that you don't know how radicalized your family could be to what they do. And I don't think a lot of us don't believe that's the case, but why risk it? Because all the other shit that's on top, plus that, it's just too much to consider. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, so I wanted to share my experience with some of my family. My mother and I share very different beliefs. Politically, also with religion, we share very different beliefs. And our relationship has changed over time. And I'm glad to say it's actually a lot better now. And I think the biggest difference from where it was really bad and where it was really good. So now it's actually it's pretty decent. We're pretty good friends. And I love her and she loves me and we both want to see each other succeed. Is how much we allow each other to accept other beliefs. I think that's an important thing, right? I think if I looked at my mom and I'm like, well, what my mom believes is wrong, well, that would instigate like a defensive response, and then she would say, well, what you believe is wrong, and then I would, and I'm in the right, blah blah blah, and then it becomes this fight, right? But if you first start with hey, we have different beliefs, and I can totally be wrong, and I'm happy to share why I believe these things if you're interested. But if you're not interested, that's okay too. We can talk about a variety of other things that are, that celebrate our strengths. I think that a really important another really important piece of why our relationship got better is we looked to each other's strengths. And although I may not agree with my mom on, matters of politics or religion, on finances, she's an incredible, she has an incredibly strong perspective on things like building long-term relationships. She has a lot of strengths. And me diving into what I really respect and the parts of her that I really respect and really want to learn from. And she also does that with me. She looks to my strengths, and she learns from me in the parts where I'm strong. That's really helped our relationship. So it's not always about what we disagree on. You know, it's also about, hey, what is this person like inherently good at that I could like really learn from? And those have been some of the things that have improved my relationship with my mom a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've had to do with just, we talk about everything else but that. She will try to insert some things into the conversation, and be silent. You know, it's the best thing for me to do. My thing is that, you know, it's a little bit more complicated. I'm a content creator. There's things I want to say that and I know that if I say them, she probably won't ever talk to me. I hate being held hostage by the situation, and the fact that we live in a society where it's okay to cut people off for the littlest things. When I feel like right now we need people. Kids are so young and impressionable. She's an adult, but she's still really young. I hate the fact that we live in a society where it's being encouraged to abandon the very people who will be there for you if anything went down. I don't care what her political beliefs are. If she needs me, I'm there. And the fact that it's being encouraged for, you know, children to separate from their family members because they disagree on politics, where are they supposed to go? It's not like people are making all these friends. This isolates people and makes them more vulnerable for the government to control them. When you have your family is your first and last line of defense. And the fact that this is being encouraged, like, well, we'd all be okay without the support of people who love us regardless, that's my problem. I only see one party doing that. And that is one of the 99 other things that makes me believe that they have become evil.
What party is that, by the way, Belinda?
The left.
Democratic Party, particularly the Progressive Socialist Communist Party. That part.
Yeah, like when they on the view, they were recommending people not spend the day of Thanksgiving with their family if you voted for Trump, because of course the election was in November. So they were saying that, yeah, if you voted for Trump, don't spend time with your family. There was also a survey, I'm gonna pull up a study too, that said they asked the question that if you would you have if you're a liberal, would you have conservative friends? So that's the people on the left, would they have conservative friends? They said no. That's the people on the right, would they have liberal friends? They say yes, which is it's black and white. The right has more tolerance in general, let alone for people on the left. The left has almost no tolerance, not just for the right, but even for their own fucking party. So if you're on the left like Bill Maher, who's been outcasted, Joe Rogan, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, these people are still on the left essentially. Yeah, they're with the Republican Party as far as being part of the administration, but they're still left-leaning. Amber Rose, the list goes on, go down a road of people, a slew of people who've been outcast or demonized because they have criticized their own party. And that party has no tolerance for dissent. You have to get down or lay down. It's pretty much gangster style over there.
Yeah, from my experience, the people on the left, yeah, I agree. Like they'll just cut you off completely if you disagree with them. But the people on the right, what I find very interesting is even though you guys might vote the same, or you might have the same religious views, if you disagree with something in the religious view, or if you disagree with something in the political party that you both vote for, they'll cut you off just as fast. And that's been my experience.
Hey, just to be clear, I mean, I'm not that it really matters, but I do lean socially left. I think it's important, or I guess the way I see it is that anyone that's leveraging indoctrination, whether it's left or right, I think that should be just sort of highlighted, right? I think it would help both sides, no matter where you fall, to know how to identify indoctrination and to know when people are using indoctrination techniques versus what I think would be better alternatives for teaching.
So what are some of the indoctrination techniques that you see?
So
Curious.
I asked ChatGPT. I asked how can you tell if you're being indoctrinated? Which I think is like a really important thing, right? Like I was like, how do you know, right? Like, and they said, okay, one is check the goal. If the goal is to give you tools to think, not what to think, and you're taught methods, ways to evaluate evidence, and competing views. With indoctrination, the goal is to make you adopt a specific conclusion or belief, often without showing you viable alternatives.
So which party do you think right now is doing that?
They both do to some degree.
Can you give us like an example of the left doing it, just so it can make more sense?
Left doing indoctrination. Oh well, I think saying.
How about trans women or women?
Sure. Yeah, that would be a great example. You know, their views towards the LGBTQIA community. They believe their opinions are right, and anyone that has different opinions than theirs would be wrong, right? That would be a indoctrination sign, right? And you'd see it on the right with nationalism, right? Anything that's if you should be fighting for the United States and the values of the United States, and if you're not, then you're against us, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, okay. Can you put it to a policy? So, like, I gave you the example of trans women are women. I can give you another example. White men are the most dangerous threat to America.
Okay.
Who says that?
Some members, it's important to identify that this isn't the entire left that does these things, and it's not the entire right that does these things. I think it's more important to look at the methods used for either side.
So yeah, maybe we should, like, I get where Pink Bill's going. There's a lot of frustration with us. We've seen what happens when people mispronoun people, and it's ugly. And we can try and find the opposite and equal from the right, coming from the right. I think going back to what are the propaganda techniques that you just referenced earlier, like keeping it away from examples, I think that'll help the discourse better. Even though I'm right there with you, Pink Pill, and I want to go toe to toe, and I want to say, you don't understand that a couple nights of Jimmy, whatever his name is, off of late night TV doesn't equate to the thousands of conservative, regular people who had their voices silenced on social media because the FBI and the government got involved with Twitter and started canceling people who had diversity of thought.
But see, here's the thing: you're calling people Nazis, you're calling people fascists, you're getting people killed, and it's like I don't see it on the other side. What I do see is people on the left who wanted to, who had like maybe agreed 97.3% with everything that the left was saying, any particular narrative on the left, and then being completely excommunicated. That's what I've seen. What I've seen on the right is, not perfect. I've experienced racist folks on the right, but for the most part, what
in Palestine. And if you push back on that shit, oh my God, it's World War III.
Sure, and I want to be clear. I agree with you in that. I agree with you in that those are terrible methods, right? Those are bad things to do, and they're hurtful methods. But I think it's much more important not to blame the left for the method, but to blame the method itself, because there are people in the right that use hurtful methods, and there are people on the left that use hurtful methods. They both, and I think it's more important to look at the method than the viewpoint. You asked for how the right. I asked ChatGPT how the political right. I asked for examples of both the right and left, how they indoctrinate people. First, the definition of indoctrination that I'm using is information control to limit or distort access to opposing viewpoints. Emotional conditioning, attach moral or identity value to the agreement or disagreement, and social enforcement to reward conformity and to punish deviation. So how the right commonly
can you share that with me? Can you DM me that? That's awesome stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it Steven or Stefan?
It's Steven. It's Steven. And so the way that the right does it is through moral absolutism, portrays the world in terms of good and evil, patriots versus traitors, believers versus sinners, suggests questioning tradition is equal to moral decay, and then it uses nostalgia, aka a return to greatness, to create emotional safety in conformity. They use fear-based messaging, emphasizing threats such as immigrants, crime, moral decline, globalists, etc. They use fear to justify authority or strong control. AKA, we must unite behind our leader, or we lose our country. Reverence for authority, including religious, military, or national symbols used to sanctify political loyalty. And dissent is framed as disrespect or betrayal rather than civic participation.
And can you maybe just give one example though? I know these are all the ways they do it. Give us like a real tangible example.
Yeah, I mean, I can put some tangible examples in the chat. I don't want to, I just asked ChatGPT for some broad overviews of how the right has used indoctrination in the past. Yeah, happy to put some direct examples in the chat. But this is something that's used by both sides. This is not just a right thing. This is not just a left thing. I think that if we find ways to communicate our ideas without indoctrination, I think that that's a much better way to go about it, no matter where you are on the political spectrum.
I agree with that. I agree that everybody should be able to how and if they are being indoctrinated in things. I'm going to be honest, Stephen, that I don't think that all indoctrination is wrong. And let me give you an example of what I mean by that. I don't think that it's wrong to have children be indoctrinated in the country that they live in. They should be proud of. And that they should love the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I think that they should be loyal to their country. I think that that is indoctrination, and I think that that's good. I think that that protects us. So I don't think that all indoctrination is bad, but if the indoctrination is like antisocial or dangerous or leads to somebody being killed, I don't care either side. I only see the left with polls saying that 37% of progressive liberals think it's perfectly okay for political opponents to be killed. What I see on my X feed is people on the Republican side going to colleges and themselves. I'm seeing on my scroll Antifa trying to defend criminals and keeping neighborhoods that people who look like me safe, while denying that the people who are being terrorized in these neighborhoods want some kind of safety. I just don't see the right saying, don't believe your lying eyes.
You know what?
And I'm not saying that that has never been the case, though,
You know what?
because I've been alive long enough to know when the right side was utterly insane, which is why I feel like I'm in a parallel universe, because I'm looking at the right like, y'all were the Democrats when we were cool. What is happening here?
Hey, quick question, real quick, Stephen. What would you say? What indoctrination do you think is good for kids?
You know, I think indoctrination is really good for like early developmental childhood. When you're like saying, hey, you need to look both ways before crossing the street. I think when it comes to matters of life or death safety, understanding stop, drop, and roll, understanding things like when it's okay to pull a fire alarm. I think that is a great time to use indoctrination. I can't think of a single occasion where indoctrination would be good for anyone later stage development and up. I think if you're above the age of 16, I can't think of a single situation where indoctrination is a good thing, because you're now you're able to think critically now. So I think using indoctrination techniques on adults is very powerful. It works. It's used because it works, and it's. I don't think it's the most ethical way to.
And why do you think it works, people?
That's a super deep. I don't.
I think it's
people make decisions based on fear. People make decisions based on anger. People make it goes to like more primal decision making and emotional decision making. That's my guess. That's what my intuition says. I haven't researched it though.
I think it's because children in at least the past 2 generations are not being taught that it's okay to push back on ideas that are being presented to them in the classroom and question. I think the critical thinking, the media, particularly the news, when I was growing up, I was born in 1973, I remember the news. It would tell you something, and they trusted you enough to decide what you should think about it. So you have all of these influences that you have this discouraging of critical thought, which we talked about earlier. I don't know if you were in here. And then you have news media, which should have a responsibility for giving us the most accurate information humanly possible. I think that's what the founding fathers idealistically wanted. But instead, I had to check my own self, because I remember back when I was a Democrat, when something would happen and I would be like, let me go on CNN so I know what to think about this. And I had to stop myself because I knew better. But I also had to think about the millions and millions of other people who don't know better. What do you guys think?
Let me ask you a question. Are you religious by any chance?
I was raised Baptist. I'm not religious. I am spiritual, but I don't, I'm not particularly like, I enjoy church, but, I'm not sitting there clapping like a field for everything they say.
So, I've been listening to your political opinions, and it kind of matched mine. I don't think the conservatives are the answer, but I choose them over the type of Democratic Party that's around now. But the Democratic Party can easily be I want to vote Democrat eventually. And hearing Ezra Klein speak gives me hope for the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party still hasn't reformed yet. And I think the good thing about Trump's existence is that as long as the Democrats keep losing, I feel like it's going to it's going to give them more incentive to govern in more pragmatic ways. Because I think the issue is that they don't govern pragmatically. Their messaging isn't pragmatic. Nothing about everything for them is procedural and vibes and having like well-meaning values, but putting that on the forefront so much that it makes government inefficient. And then they'll create bills, section off money for bills that sound amazing. The End Poverty Act, or I just learned these I've been asking the Biden people what Biden did that was positive, not as a way to like grill them, but as a hey, I know my own echo chamber. Like I know that Obama wasn't all bad. I know Trump isn't all bad. There's no way Biden is all bad. They talk about the infrastructure bill. They talk about the CHIPS Act, and then I believe them. And then I started to do research. The infrastructure bill didn't change shit because all of the changes are so procedural that really a lot of construction doesn't start until 28. So it's like, it's I just think that the Democrats need to rethink, and there's a few people in the Democratic Party who understand that they need to rethink. What's fucking up the Democratic Party are the people on the left, the leftists. The leftists who just screams over and over and over again that billionaires are bad and that race, it's just like they don't have any policies to make the world better. They just critique everything and they don't have any solutions.
And you say that politician that you like you can't say that his name, but can you describe the policies he supports?
So Ezra Klein, if you just look up Ezra Klein and look at him talking about his book called Abundance.
Well, what was that specifically that you like about him? Just curious.
He isn't a politician. He's a reporter at the New York Times. And what I like about what he's saying is I'm a pragmatist. I'm not a super partisan person. I will vote for Democrats if I believe that they're better. I will vote for Republican if I think I'll vote for anybody.
He's just really just liking, but he's not telling you what he's standing on.
No, he's telling you what he's standing on. He works at the New York Times. Yeah, go ahead.
Just name 2 or 3 of them. Just 2 or 3. That's it.
Yeah, so he is a New York Times bestseller. He's a reporter for the New York Times. So obviously he's a liberal. He's a forever blue person, right? But he's a forever blue person that understands what the Democratic Party is doing wrong.
I get it. When you're describing him as a pretty cool person, what I'm asking for is, has he put his neck out on the line for any particular issue?
Yes. So let me tell you what issue he talked about. So before the 2024 presidential campaign, about 2.5 years before it even happened, he was criticizing the Democratic Party openly because he wanted them to have open primaries. He kept telling the Democratic Party that if you guys keep Joe Biden as a nominee, you're going to lose. If you wait too long, you're going to lose. So that was one. In terms of like him and the environment, he's also pretty big on the environment. He's what I know this is a buzzword. You call him a classical liberal. He's a moderate. To me, he's a moderate, pragmatic liberal.
I think, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I think the big issue is people vote for people who they just like, but they're not like very well informed of the actual policies and how those policies affect things. They're more like personality and character.
Yeah, but Ezra isn't a politician. So like if you're looking for an exact
Trump wasn't a politician either, but when he stepped out, he made it very clear. He put a line in the sand and said, hey, this is what I'm supporting and this is what I'm gonna do, blah blah blah.
I'm not saying Ezra's name as a way to say this is the future of the Democratic Party. Hell no. I'm not saying that, even though if he was, I would vote for him. I'm saying that I don't want to give up on the Democratic Party, or I don't want to fully just be like, okay, Republicans are the answer.
Bless you, Oni.
Because thank you. I don't want to just say Republicans are the answer, because there's something emerging from Democrats that is seeming a little bit self-aware, but they're not there yet, you know?
I think the American Party is our only hope.
The what party?
Elon Musk's party, the American Party.
That's hilarious.
Real quick, I know some of you guys out there don't ask Steve and Sydney Sugar.
Yes, yeah, I am.
Yeah, hey, a long time since we spoke to this here. I don't even know if you remember, but I remember you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna ask you, as far as the space since you left Lenin, how did you take the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death from the left? Not just your specific view. Well, I guess both. How did you view it, and how did you see your party doing? Like, do you align with the general sentiment, or at least the sentiment of them celebrated? How did you view that?
My general view is that I celebrate the ability to speak freely about subjects that I personally disagree with. I prioritize freedom of speech over someone that disagrees with me in every instance. I think that's where freedom of speech matters. It matters when you disagree with it. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't need freedom of speech. I obviously think it's a tragedy that he was shot for his beliefs and for welcoming discourse and welcoming open communication between both sides, even if I disagree with a lot of his political beliefs. When I saw I noticed that, at least from what I saw, the vast majority of left-leaning people agreed with me. And it seems like anyone that had radical viewpoints around this, their voices were amplified, because I believe that would cause the most ratings, that would cause the most views, that would cause the most, the things that news media outlets are measured on. That's what would get the intended results for both sides.
I'm curious, Stephen, you said there's a lot of things you disagree with Charlie Kirk on. Can you just maybe name one?
Well, before real quickly. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Really quickly. You guys can go. I just want to go and throw to your point. You said so there's not a. Well, let me ask you just to be clear. Do you feel there's a comparable stance between the right and the left when they view violence and how violence is acted on their?
I can't stress this enough. It really should never be looked at as a right versus left thing. It really shouldn't. It needs to be looked at as there's radicalism, and that radicalism needs to be addressed. It doesn't matter whether they're Republican or Democrat or Islamic or Christian or atheist. It does not matter. What matters is radicalism, right? And putting blame and blaming the left or blaming the right or blaming the fucking, it's not going to help anyone ever, right? It's just understanding how this process happened. You treat it like a plane crash, right? It's you don't, when a plane crashes, you don't look at like, well, was the pilot a Democrat or a Republican? No, it doesn't matter.
Very odd analogy.
Yeah,
but it's like reality.
We might look to see how much training, how much confidence they have.
Now we're talking, right? We analyze the crash. We say, hey, how did we get here? How did we get here? What failed, right?
I agree with that part.
And we look at the process of how we went from we were on track to how did this plane get off track, and how did this plane crash? And now, once we understand how this crashed, how do do we make it so future planes don't crash this way ever again? Right?
How do
That's
you
how we get
account
to this
for?
point. Yeah.
But how do you account for pattern recognition?
Right.
We're not stupid. We understand that there's a pattern of violence in our nation, and to blame it all on white men is reductive and wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Statistically verifiable.
Shouldn't be. It should not be blamed on white men for sure. But in the same way, we shouldn't look at it and say, "Well, Democrats are the problem," right? It's making the same mistake. Then saying that same.
It's not.
It is the
Look,
same.
let me get you. Here's the reason. There's like some people. One second. Wait. Tell me.
You have to yield to the mods.
The reason why it's a problem because, as you said, Stephen, it's not just isolatedness, which I agree, right? If car accidents happens, plane crash happens, violence happens. We're talking about the culture around the violence, right? So if a group support this particular thing, so I want to make an analogy, but I want to make something happen. If a culture supports certain activity, then you do blame that group or culture for that. And right now, the leftists do tend to have a violent culture. It's not just isolated this assassination, because as you stated, the question was, how did we get here? I believe a lot of us saw us getting here a long time ago. We saw when Trump being attempted to be assassinated several times. Brett Kavanaugh, the riots and whatnot. So there's a litany, and not just the things that are happening, but how people are treated. So when it's a response to say it's mostly peaceful, or you're undermining natural violence, not reporting on it, etc., this creates a culture to where violence can prosper, can be more abundant. And now we have it escalate to the point where someone actually died, or someone could have died before again Trump and several other people. So what I'm saying is that the way we respond to this speaks more volumes to what happens, because we can't control individuals, but we can control how we treat this situation. And for one group to say that it's okay and to call for more of it, I think that is indicative of that side. And lastly, I'll say on this, not enough of that side is checking their side to say we should do this, because when the Aryan Brotherhood or far-right extremists or alt-right does their things, there's a plenty of the right to say we don't own that shit, we don't condone violence or racism, etc. So I'm just saying that there's a clear distinction between the left and the right when it comes to this particular issue.
Yeah, can I quickly say this? This is why I disagree with you, to be honest, because there's actually no evidence or proof that, even with the Charlie Kirk assassination, that it was actually a left-wing guy. Tyler,
We're not doing that. But
Monica, let me just give my opinion, because this is a fact. There's actually no evidence.
It's not a fact.
Hold on, time out. If you're trying to provide me a fake text message that the FBI gave to the public to show that
I'm not talking about that.
Tyler Robinson was not a left wing. His family was a conservative. They've been conservative.
His family, not him, sir. My family's Christian, I'm not. It doesn't make sense. And they're left wing, and I'm not.
He's not left wing, and there is no proof that he hated.
Faceless. You're ignoring the fact that other people can believe different things and it has nothing to do with their personal beliefs. That doesn't make sense. I share no beliefs in my family.
Your evidence that he was left wing
Because he killed a right-wing person. That's one thing. Yes, I was gonna name a litany of things. He had on a bullet Antifa, what's the word? Propaganda shit.
Can I finger the air, please? Can we just sidestep the conversation? Because if a person needs to be convinced that the mainstream information suggests that the shooter is left wing and not right wing, then they're not in a place to be convinced. If you need to be convinced at this point in time that there's ample evidence that shows that this person was left wing, then why even talk to them? It's hopeless at that point.
Yeah, I agree. But back to you, Stephen. If you took in what I said, and I'm really curious. And by the way, too, this you should know me. I'm not trying to believe it. No, like that. You don't feel comfortable with this stuff. Like, no, sincerely. Okay, cool. So I just want to be sincerely. Yeah, but go ahead if you want to respond to what I said, please.
Yeah, I don't want to be a broken record. I think pretty clear. I think it's we improve as a country when we attack the wrongdoings, right? And we degrade as a country when we look at a problem and we say it's the left or it's the right or it's the blacks or it's the whites or it's the men or it's the women or it's the Christians or it's the atheists. I think our country gets a little bit worse when we do that. And it gets a little bit better when we say, hey.
Let me get you here. Let me ask you something. But what if that is the case, though? What if that is the case, that this group is, well, so let me ask you that. The next question is, how did we get here to where not that what happened, but that the side that it happened on, well, the side because he's left-leaning, well, how did that side appropriate it? Like the right didn't celebrate it. Like the right did not celebrate Charlie Kirk getting shot. And even the alt-right or far-right people did not celebrate it. There was a specific demographic. You always say you don't think the left celebrated Charlie Kirk getting killed?
No, I don't. I really don't. And I think that it's very easy to take a very, very, very small minority and say this is what the left is saying.
But you can do that with the right. Is the point? You can do that with the right.
You can do that with any side. You can do that with any race.
You cannot do that with the right. You cannot do that with the right. And I'm not trying to. I'm telling you the reason why you don't see it on right because it almost doesn't exist at all. Like when the lady in Minnesota, the congressman or whatever got assassinated, we didn't celebrate that. And the lies they keep saying about Trayvon Martin and George Floyd, the people are not making fun of them because they died. Because they died. They made fun of them in abundance. They made fun of them because the left was propping them up as like these good, outstanding citizens, which is still wrong. It's not.
Wait a minute. I feel like I got the right to vote when I turned 18 in 2016, and the first person I voted for is Donald J. Trump. I love my country. I love my country. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, I think you're being a little bit unfair right now, Free. Like, you can't say, hey, we did it too, but when we did it, it was for these reasons. And it's not the same.
No. For the people, actually, no. The point I'm making is for the people he's talking about, that actually happens right. Is a phrasing minority that does it. The right doesn't stand by people making fun of George Floyd or dead people in general. And when they do it, it's not for the same reason. Making fun of someone that is dead and making fun of someone being crazy, it's two different things. It's not the same.
Yeah, I know, but the right has done it. I think both. So this is my thing. I completely agree with Stefan. What he's saying is completely correct. And it seems like what we care more about is finding a perpetrator.
No, I care more about fixing a problem. No. That is the solution. The solution is to check your people, sir. Check your side. Your side is getting out of hand, and they are calling for more of this. And you're saying it's fringe, but it's not. Today, like when people shoot this here, a guy named Jones just called for the assassination of his political opponent. He's a politician.
Yeah,
this is insane.
And listen, in another parallel universe, he would have been booted off the ticket. They're still supporting him. This is in Virginia.
And we have too many examples of this. You guys are ignoring this. Yeah, you guys are doing this. Is what we're saying. This is the problem. I'm sorry for being, emotionally around about it. But the point is, we have too many examples for you guys just to knock it off and say, well, just a phrase. No, it's not. This has become normal amongst the left. This is the left now. This is what we are. And it's getting worse. And I'm saying you have to start pretty much checking your side because we're trying to do it, but they won't listen to us. Check your side to say, hey, this is too far. And my question is, how far is too far? How many of the left have to do this before we say, hey, that's the left? How many more?
Actually, I brought up Ezra Klein. The way that I rediscovered Ezra Klein from last year is Ezra Klein was having a debate with Ta-Nehisi Coates. And Ezra Klein, the Forever Blue Democrat, wrote an article 12 hours after Charlie Kirk's death saying that Charlie Kirk did politics right, and his politics and his death was a tragedy, and it's bad for every single American that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was therefore look up Ezra Klein on YouTube, Charlie Kirk article. Every single person on his side, every single person, I mean just the loudest people, are hanging him upside down and hitting him.
Are they leftists?
What do you mean? Some of them are leftists, some of them aren't. A lot of them.
No. See, again, you're dishonest. What people on the right or different are hanging out because you know it's the left.
I know. I'm saying that there are Democrats who are calling out the thing that happened with Charlie Kirk.
No, I get that. That's not the issue. We know that's happening. We know it's just not happening enough. We get it. I know that Democrats are alive with that. I think you're changing the discussion now.
I'm saying the people who think that, which I think it's a silent. You know what a silent majority is?
I know what you're saying. Yes, we get it. No, I get it. I know most people are. Listen, honestly, most leftists have an issue with him. Yeah, most leftists probably agree with Stefan and a lot of us. The problem is there's a growing minority. I said most. That's what you're saying. fair enough. Most Democrats, when I say left, I'm talking all of the left. So that's everybody. That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying too. Yeah, I'm saying there's a growing minority that is a problem, and they're getting out of hand, and it's keep growing. But go ahead.
Okay. This comes from my question of how can you tell if you're being indoctrinated? And number 7 is look for black and white worldviews. Are you taught that everything is clear cut, aka we're good and they're bad? I think that that exact thing is Free is doing right now.
You think I'm saying we're okay? I'm talking about specific issues, sir. I'm not. This is really relegated to one specific issue. That one side is okay, political violence more than the other. It's not saying that we don't have any issues. It's not saying you guys are 100% wrong. I'm saying on this particular issue, and I believe that this change conversation to make it more decisive. I don't think you're trying to do it on purpose. This is not a fallacy here. What I'm trying to say, this is a black and white issue. Right now, we have too much of enough evidence for what I'm claiming that too much of your side is okay with this. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how you disagree with that.
I'm not.
You just said you're a leftist socialist, right? You said that.
I'm registered as I'm an independent. Okay, to be
okay.
And also,
regardless of what you're registered in, you identify as
conservative. There are things that I totally agree with on the right, and things I totally agree with on the left.
I'll take your side. Let's just say left.
On social issues, I'm probably more left than I am right.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, for instance, I don't believe that women or trans people should be in sports. I don't think that or in women's sports. I don't believe that should be a thing.
Okay, fair enough. I got you. I said I take it back because I don't want to get lost in the sauce. I want to stick to this. We see one group perform a certain way, and they are emboldened to do so. They're not shameful. They don't care. They're doubling down on this idea. And worse than that, they're trying to justify by misrepresenting his arguments by saying that he said black people are not competent and all this other crap they claim he said. He didn't say it, or he at least said it way out of context, which is not the same thing. Meaning, they misrepresent them. The point is that I'm addressing the fact that the left, as this poll showed that Pink Pill addressed a second ago, which you can look up, I think like 38% of the left think it's okay to assassinate your political opponent. And we see tons of incidents of the left doing things like this. People are hunted down and killed because they're Trump supporters. Okay? Hunted down, literally. When you go to rallies, and I tell the left to do this too. Anybody, matter of fact, not even left, anybody. If you really want to test this theory, just go to any of those spaces where there's whether it's a ICE rally or something, and whatever. Matter of fact, let me take all that back. Because that's too dangerous. Let me just say this: for the fact the majority of us who supported Trump and voted for him, we can't go out in public wearing anything that shows that we're conservative or elite. We can't wear MAGA hat. We can't wear what's the elephant. We can't do none of that shit. The reason being because there's a chance that our car gets shot.
We can't even hold the flag. We can't even have a flag.
Yeah, we can't even hold American flag. Yeah, and so that speaks volumes to know that this is a identifier to be attacked. Okay, I drive around and I see people with their Tim Moss and their Biden shirts, Biden stickers on their car, and they do it comfortably because they're not facing the same threat as the people on the right. This is, how many examples we have to give that one side is more okay with promoting violence, performing violence than the other side? So you gaslighting me by saying this is not the case. I'm trying to go ahead. Yeah, no, I'm right. Yeah.
I want to speak after you, Stephen.
Okay.
And I want to go out on YouTube. Go ahead. Yeah, I know.
This is so important. What I'm going to say, I believe to my core, okay, that assigning a trait to a group is wrong, okay? And assigning it to the entire group is wrong. It is. I believe that is the definition of prejudice, is to assign a trait to an entire group of people. And I think it is wrong to look at the incarceration rate of black people and to say, well, black people are obviously the problem. That it's wrong to believe that. You need to look at the crimes that individuals committed and say it was wrong for that individual to commit that crime. It is wrong to make the conclusion that because more black people are disproportionately incarcerated for crimes, that black people are the problem. That is a wrong thing. It's not right. That is where racism comes from. you have to judge each individual on the contents of their character, and not look at what group they're a part of and make assumptions about that group.
Well, let me ask you this: how do you assess and measure crime statistics by categories? How do you do that then?
Yeah, but Monica, what's next?
Okay, so if there's a bank, and I'm gonna be ridiculous with this, but I think it's good to add a little levity to this conversation because it's a difficult conversation. A bank is robbed. The description of perpetrators are 4-foot, red-headed, green-wearing men. When the police put an all-points bulletin out for 4-foot, red-headed, green-wearing men, they will not be stopping any 6-foot Black Americans. They won't, because the suspect doesn't match the description. There's a difference between racial profiling and profiling. And if we look at the data, we can have a conversation that our judicial system is broken, and have a conversation that approximately 6% of the men or the people currently incarcerated are not guilty for the crime that they're incarcerated for. And look at P. Diddy. But what we shouldn't do is ignore facts and data because we're afraid that we'll be labeled a bigot. If there's a problem in a culture, denying that culture has a problem is not doing any of us any favors. Go ahead, Mother.
Yeah, so it was interesting because, I mean, when we talk about the U.S. justice system, essentially it's a class-based system, right? People with better access to better attorneys generally can get off on lesser charges. And nobody talks about, like, that is a huge part of the race of who gets sent to prison and who doesn't. We just like to gloss over that fact and pretend like our system is fair and balanced. And how people of color generally get harsher sentences than white people that commit the same crimes. Like, that is well known and well documented. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But what I actually wanted to say was back up real quick. I was surprised, like, when you all talk about, like, you can't wear your MAGA hats and you can't. Like, I walk down the street every day and there's people wearing MAGA hats and flying Trump flags. Like, maybe it's because I live in Florida, which is a big state, but no, they're not getting assaulted. Literally, people in my gym are wearing MAGA hats and wearing pro-Trump stuff, and people were wearing their Kamala stuff. Like, I don't know where y'all live, but most of the country is not like this, where you can't, state your opinion on things. Okay, let me just live in California. The rest of the country is not like this. Like, it is not. Even when I was in Illinois, people would wear the Republican stuff, and they're not getting jumped like what I'm talking about.
In Maryland,
So clearly,
should not wear any MAGA attire.
right. So clearly, the other camels are going to get attacked.
Just a moderator's note. This is Serendipity's room, and Amy and I help her. We have some guidelines for the mods. If you move down anyone, you need to tell us. And please
likely to commit that. Maybe most people aren't likely to do that. So, and I think, but I don't really know how you get to figure out what's going on. Is this behavior being committed because this idea has permeated the group, and the group tends to have some sort of belief that fosters this behavior, that makes this behavior more likely. So, but I think that it's important, the distinction between the two.
I don't even think that, like, those are conversations.
Can I give an example? Like, here's one that is very clear, and it has nothing to do with politics, but you and I both know this is true. In America, black women are the most likely to have children outside of wedlock. We have the highest rates. It does not mean that every single black woman has a baby out of wedlock. It just means that she belongs to the cohort that has the most amount of people. And then if you look at a black woman, it is not prejudice to say she belongs to the group that has the highest out of wedlock rate. It doesn't mean that she does, though. It just means that that's true.
Right. The problem is that seeing a black woman assuming that she probably has a kid out of wedlock. That's where the problem is.
Yeah, I can see that. But,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, when we're saying these types of ideals, the way in which the language is being used, calling everybody fascists and Nazis to very fragile young people who do not critically think, it's adding fuel, and it is on one particular side is what I see. I see the most insanity, the most mental illness, the most need for medication on one side. I see only one side trying to make you believe something, or, you know, they're going to cut you off. I don't see that on the other side. So,
I completely agree. I agree with the direction, because I agree with the direction where you're going, because and this is why, like, when some people who I respect, like, on the left, and we have a conversation, I'm like, I'm seeing these guys, and he's literally a fascist. This is literally Hitler. This authoritarian dictator is taking over our country. And I'm like, you know, to be honest with you, if I truly believe that an authoritarian fascist dictator took over the United States, I would have no problem with political violence. Because if a fascist took over the United States, I have no problem with people walking down the streets and killing people in Capitol to make sure these overthrown. Because that's not what America is. So if you use this type of high language as a tool to fight, then people who believe it are going to think it's justified to commit violence, because you're calling him things that the only way to take him out of power would be to commit violence.
Especially saying that he's not going to get an office. They stand in favor.
Yeah, you don't get a dictator out of power by asking him nicely. The only way to get a dictator out of power is to kill him. So that's my thing. It's like the way that they speak, they feel like by calling the people that they disagree with politically the worst in the book, that signifies how serious things are. It's like, I think it's just bad discourse for the country, because if you tell people that this person is a fascist dictator, Mussolini, Hitler, Aryan baby, if you tell them that, then and if they truly believe it, then the people who support the fascist Hitlerian figure are also bad. Like, if I believe that would be true, and they would not even. Why would do you think that I would go to Nazi Germany if I took a time machine? Would I go to Nazi Germany and have a conversation with a brown coat or brown shirt? No, I wouldn't. What's the point of having a conversation with a fascist? You don't have conversations with fascists. You don't exchange ideas with fascists. Actually, to converse with a fascist is actually dangerous. That's what language means. So,
Agreed.
so that's why
Hold on. Let me get this. Haven't we had a discussion about Jordan Peterson recommending the book Ordinary Men, where it talks about how good people were groomed to do terrible things? The police were told, you're free to go, but this job needs to be done. And felt they couldn't leave their friends in arms to march the naked pregnant women out into the field and kill them. So, like, I don't. What I'm saying is the line dividing the U.S. to the heart of every human. Solzhenitsyn should be remembered. And also, still going back to what MG and Pink Pill and Free have been trying to tell us, like this whole room, Mother, you know that people, it was a vocal minority, but so was the vocal minority who objected to Sydney Sweeney wearing American Eagle jeans. And they got amplified. And I didn't see a lot of people from the left saying, wait a minute, this is a little excessive, y'all. Y'all okay? The white girl can wear her breeches or no? So if you, this is what I'd like for you guys to do. If you see leaders on the left condemning political violence, share that. Share the heck out of that. We want to see that. We actually want to be wrong about this. But the track record, as in the COVID lockdowns, as in the Russian collusion delusion, as in the number of conspiracy theories that the left has foisted upon us that the right was suspicious of, and then we turned out to be correct, like, that's it. Show us where the good people are on the left, and we can recognize them, and we'd be grateful to. Who wanted to talk?
I want to hop in real quickly. Sure, yeah. Steven, he's changed. Okay, the point is, we had a copycat of Charlie Kirk killer at the ICE building. The guy literally looked at the schematics of what Tyler Robinson did, and he shot the ICE vehicle. He killed, I think, 2 or 3 immigrants, and he was trying to kill ICE agents based on his motive. So the point is, we literally see the outcome of this. That you're undermining what the fuck we're seeing. People are trying to do what they think is, and this is the biggest thing about the celebration. When we celebrate things, we call for more, whether it's music, event, whatever the case may be. You're celebrating the assassination of a political opponent, someone who's in the opposite position of you. So therefore, you provoke this copycat situation. So that guy did it, and the question becomes, which I'm sincerely concerned about. We're likely being targeted because you're telling your side that more of this is good. So it's not just okay, it's actually good. You need to kill Nazis and fascists. You need to kill people who are trying to take your rights away, etc. That's the problem. If he just killed me, your side say, hey, we don't do it like this, and of course some did. Of course, we know there's plenty of leftists who came out and condemned it. Joe Biden, Al Sharpton, let's go on. But it's just not enough. It's too many, and actually when you look at this, and I'll end on this, you see there's a gap between the generations. The older liberals, the leftists, they understand this is not how we should do shit. This is fucked up. So these people lived through MLK and Malcolm X and JFK assassination. So they knew this is not good for culture. The younger millennials, that far left group that's going to be the new leaders, they don't see nothing wrong with this. They're okay. And they're reproducing it, and they're shaming people into adopting their fucking ideology. So again, this is in line with what we're saying. The call for celebrating and improving assassinations. You're going to get more.
Right. I think although most leftists aren't violent murderers, if the idea that words are violence, for example, are being spread by the leftists, being encouraged, and they're backing that idea, those lead to then the handful that are actually going to do something. So we need to find and push back against those ideas that are leading to the horrible incidents.
Hey, this is candidate John. I'd like to be in the queue.
Okay, you can go right now.
Yeah, I'd like to request 60 seconds to read a poem.
Please don't.
We're having a really good discussion.
I'm going to put that on pause for just a little bit. I will let you know, candidate.
Damn well, they told you no, but you know what they say, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
I don't know why only you're encouraging stage people to ignore moderation.
I
Weren't
don't
you
know if I'm doing that. I was going to say something after. I was going to say something to Tiffany.
I touched your joke. Sorry.
So, like, my thing is, I don't think that whatever momentum, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm kind of like an accelerationist. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. I'm kind of an acceleration when it comes to that. So, I'm going to dump
But
it.
here's the thing. So you want it to like hurry up and get over with, right?
It's not that I want is a very particular word. It's not that I want $1 million and for world's hunger to be over. You know what I mean? It's not about what I want. People want a race war. They want to fight. There's a lot of
That's not true.
It's
What are you doing?
there's a lot of people.
Go ahead. I'll reply. Go
I
ahead.
think that there's a lot of people who don't want it, but there's a lot of people who do want it, and I think a lot of people want it, and a lot of people, history repeats itself. That's just what I think. I think a lot of people like political violence. I think
You're
a lot
repeating
of
yourself
people like
now,
violence against people that they believe that is deserved, and a lot of people feel like people on the right deserve violence, even if they're not going to be able to do it.
A race war and political.
Okay, hold on. So Oni joined the room saying the Democrat Party can be reformed. We can bring them back. I like Ezra Levine. And Ezra Levine?
Ezra Klein.
Ezra Klein. Ezra Levine is my kind of Ezra. Alright. And then now he's like, I'm an accelerationist. Burn it down, and so we can rebuild in the rubble. Which one is it?
Well, that's actually more anarchist than anything else, but go ahead.
I don't.
Not too much on anarchy, Joe.
I think you want me to fit into left-right paradigm, and I don't
I'm
think
asking you to be logically consistent.
No, but me having.
You're talking about renovation or demolition. That's what I wanted to
Yeah,
know.
I'm saying that I see some hope that there can be renovation, but that requires a lot of accountability that still the majority of the Democratic establishment doesn't want to grapple with right now. And I was just sharing that for the first time I've seen a modern day person on the left that is saying exactly what I'm thinking. Not a little bit of what I'm thinking, exactly what I'm thinking. And if that ideology could be focused on, I prefer them over Trump in my opinion. But the likelihood of people on the left reforming their party is low unless they keep losing elections. Even if they do keep losing elections, it doesn't mean that they have to change because we live in a two-party system. What I'm saying is the political momentum that is at play after Charlie Kirk is shot in the neck in front of his wife and children for his opinions, that's not going away. That energy doesn't go. I believe in the horseshoe effect. That energy doesn't go away. There's going to be retaliation, then another retaliation to that, then another one. All right. So I'm saying that things look like they're going to get worse before they get better. Political violence is the way of the world. No one's condoning it.
May I subject your comments?
Oh, okay. Sarah, can you check the telegram?
First
Okay.
question is to the title of the room. What's the anti-USA propaganda? So are you saying that the children or that didn't that it was anti-zone didn't happen? I'm just trying to understand the context.
I'm saying that the media portrayed the story to be one way, very clearly, and that when you went digging and looking for evidence of that, you couldn't find it, and then people that live there actually went and did tours of that building, which had been foreclosed on, was currently owned by the bank, and supposed to be 100% unoccupied because they were going to renovate it before they resold it. And Venezuelan gang members ended up squatting in that building, and that is what that effort was targeted at, was
because of illegal parent, but on top of their illegal immigration status, there was drug paraphernalia and all kinds of other things confiscated during that raid. And yes, I was horrified at the thought of children being drugged from their beds in some random apartment complex that was targeted because they believed that Venezuelan drug lords were highly part of that. But that wasn't the situation at all. And there are no videos of children in hand ties, and all of the videos that have surfaced of all of the footage of the people with their cell phones, they don't have any videos of children in hand ties. So did it happen? I don't know. I don't feel like it's been validated or substantiated. The one video of the baby in the hand tie is actually a video of a police officer chasing after his toddler and pretending to arrest him.
Well, so is that to say, because I did pull up a couple articles that had similar accounts from individual, I think she was African American U.S. citizen that was woken out, living there legally or what?
Not legally. She was squatting. Not legally. She was not there legally. There was no landlord for that premises right now.
So she was a U.S. citizen. She was living rent free.
Yes, she was detained until she could verify her citizenship. Yes, that is true.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm not in Chicago. I didn't take a tour of this building. You know, we know that there's both sides of the conservative media and left-leaning media will present a narrative of allegedly the same events that happened that are little dashes of hyperbole here and there, but so is that to say, so let's say there were, to your point, U.S. citizens that were squatting.
Yes.
So is that to say, or at least you're saying you haven't seen any videos to substantiate, or
correct,
that there were actually children in zip ties, because you're definitely agreeing that they were like definitely, you know, ousted out of their beds, like they were going after El Chapo at 3 a.m. kind of thing, right?
Yes, they absolutely were. They absolutely were, and they were detained in vans until legal guardians could come and take them. Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, because it's
Do you find something wrong with that, though? Do you find something wrong with that?
Wrong with what? With which part? There's different.
The raid on the building. Do you find something wrong with ICE executing U.S. law and removing people? Do you find something wrong with that?
Removing the known Venezuelan gang members? No. Nothing wrong with that at all. However, this was not a surgical procedure, Joe. So while the folks who were U.S. citizens that were squatting are technically they're living rent free, they are not, you know, that is handled by sheriff's office, not nicely.
What happened to them?
Sorry, Joe, I don't think I interrupted you. So I just finished.
Yeah, you've been hogging them.
I didn't interrupt you, Joe.
You've been hogging them like a long
No,
time.
he hasn't. He hasn't.
Are you okay?
He hasn't.
33 seconds.
I specifically asked for his thoughts.
Aggressive. Wow.
I specifically asked for his thoughts because I wanted to hear them.
I do have 2 questions about the raid. Windows room.
Yeah, I was just going to say, to Joe's point, to answer your question, do I think the way that if they're going after, if that was a building just filled with Venezuelan gang members, have at it. Sure, I'm all for it. Absolutely. However, they clearly didn't do enough intel to realize that it wasn't just drug gang lords. There were people living there, albeit free, which I know is a no-no to squat. But if you're U.S. citizens and you're being treated as Venezuelan gang lords versus the standard law, I believe in most cities and states, the sheriff does the eviction for that sort of thing. If you're squatting, but I'll yield the mic. Thank you.
Yeah, the presumption was that it was one African American lady that was squatting there. The rest of them were related to the Venezuelan gang.
And I find it interesting that you're not able to call squatting a crime.
All right. My two questions are really quick. I understood that the ICE.
You didn't hear me. I said it is a crime, and that's why the sheriff's office handles that, not ICE agents. ICE agents don't handle squatters. I don't know where you're from, but ICE agents don't handle squatters. You're U.S. citizens. Yes, you should be evicted by the sheriff, but you are not a Venezuelan gang member who needs to be, extracted out of your room, your apartment, like a movie, in the middle of the night. The sheriff handles that crime for squatting, not ICE agents.
Okay, gotcha. Just real quick, Monica, please let me have this.
Well, but my two questions are super easy.
Can I just say this real quick? I promise I will be quick.
Go ahead.
They went in for the purpose not to get the one American woman and have her be uncomfortable. The primary purpose was to solve a problem, and this was the byproduct of it, and it clearly was a mistake. Now, when you're dealing with, when you're talking about soldiers, or if you're talking about police officers, or if you're talking about security, sometimes people hurt, and it's not meant for them to get hurt. What you're trying to say, the way that these conversations are often framed is because a person who incidentally was there when they were working on a major operation, that the majority of the people who are being detained or being apprehended are the ones that are being sought, and then they just so happen to find her. You're saying that the whole thing is wrong and we should just throw the whole thing out, when it's an unfortunate casualty. I'm not saying that it's right, but you can't hang your hat on that.
Correct. I said ICE agents should have done enough better intel to realize there are civilians in there that, yes, are breaking the law with a misdemeanor, that do not need federal agents to address. So, I can't believe they didn't do enough intel to realize.
Let me ask you a question. In all sincerity.
You got it, Joe. You got it. Go ahead, Joe.
In all sincerity, wait.
Oh, shucks, don't hurt my feelings. Jeez. Oh, fuck.
You know he's being rude on purpose to get you mad. Don't fall for the bait.
Moose, I want to ask in all sincerity, and then I promise, Monica, you can ask him your follow-up questions. In all sincerity, Moose, if they're squatting and there is no lessee, there's no rental agreements to review to indicate who is housed in that building, and they have good intel that this Venezuelan gang has gone in and set up shop in this building, how are they supposed to vet who is in that building without potentially tipping off the rest of the Venezuelan gang members that they're looking into that building? There's no way to vet that, Moose. It's not like they could go to a property manager and say, give us a list of your tenants. I don't know what else you could have expected them to do to identify exactly who was in the building without tipping the entire building off that they're looking at them.
That's a fair question. That's a fair question. There is it's at the bottom. I guess at the end of the day,
just say you have a point and you don't have to extemporize longer, knowing that I've been waiting for 4 speakers to go before me to ask my simple two little questions. I understood that the ICE raid. Thank you. Appreciate you. I understood that the ICE raid happened at 1 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because the people who were talking about it were very offended that there were 3 or 4 children out on the street unclothed, completely naked. Is that true?
pajamas was the reference. They said almost naked or in pajamas.
Got you. Okay, thank you.
Well, you guys see how the framing is meant to enrage? They're pulling out children naked, not saying it's 1 o'clock in the morning and most people have on pajamas around that time. And then to also say, well, it's not good intel because there's no way to find out any record about the person. There's really, what it boils down to is there's nothing that these people can do that is going to be good enough because you don't want them to do it. Like, just say you don't want to do it. Just say you don't give a fuck about 4 Black people being terrorized in their own communities, criminals who are both in this country and not in, and also who are in this country legally. Just say it. Just say you don't give a fuck. Just say you don't care. Just say that you're perfectly fine living on the west side. Maybe you have a remote to your gate, and you go in there, and it makes you feel really good to make it seem like you care about these people when you really don't give a fuck. Because if you knew what went on into these neighborhoods, you wouldn't have the opinion that you have. The only reason you have this luxury to have this opinion is because you never have to live there.
Brandy, to answer your question, the reason they couldn't get a list was because they were all squatting. They weren't there legally. They were all squatting in that building. Nobody was supposed to be in that building.
If I could offer up something in terms of the squatting, there was somebody who reported that people had changed the locks and were squatting. I haven't seen anything definitive. It'd be great to see that if you have that. I think that it was unreasonable in terms of if you have individual specific judicial warrants, that's one thing, but when you don't, it appeared to be excessive force to me. And there are child welfare laws as well. You can't zip tie a minor unless they pose an immediate threat.
About that, Madison.
I was still talking.
Yeah, but you've got a detail wrong. I'll yield. You can go. No, don't be a diva. About the zip tie, tell us more.
I'm good, thank you.
Except you're not. Wait, did I get this wrong? Isn't it in the title? Serendipity, can you help me? Where were the kids zip tied? Like, if I'm wrong, I'll stand a correction, but I understood that Hakima's PTR is way wrong. Way wrong. A toddler was running out on the street and his cop dad handcuffed him for a joke. And nothing to do with the illegal immigrants. So, Madison, can you share what you're talking about? Because maybe we are talking about 2 different things. I'll provide my link if you share with us yours.
Sure, I can share a link. There were witnesses. There was a neighbor, AP News, Reuters, local Chicago television said that children were zip tied during the raid.
Except that it looks like it wasn't true. That it was reported that way, but then they realized that it was a little kid whose dad was chasing him and put handcuffs on him, but we weren't zip ties, they were handcuffs, which would have fallen off of him anyway, they were so loose. Like, would you be able to, okay, in this case, if the people who are saying that this was a story that the media ran away with, and many people on your side believed, and if we can provide to you proof that it didn't happen, could we be at some place where we agree that we're getting fed a lot of information that's causing people to be enraged, information that isn't true?
Well, for me, first of all, I don't have a side in anything. And I went by the sources that I just listed, as well as a local Chicago Independent News website and eyewitness testimony. And of course, there are 2 things that convict: physical evidence and eyewitness testimony. So it depends on who we want to believe.
What I'm saying is that I did see the little kid being chased. I saw the little kid being handcuffed. He looked about
link is in the chat
to 2, and it was a joke. And so what I'm saying is, that the media can get it wrong. Can we just agree that sometimes the media gets it wrong because it fits into a narrative that they want to run with? Because the story's wrong. Like the child's father came on and said, "That's my kid. I was playing a joke."
Madison, that's the kid. That's the same kid, Madison. Click on my link. Look at the video. Look at the whole video.
X is a great resource. So are you saying there's just one child?
Hold on.
One child in question?
Hold on.
Yes, that is the only child that any photo has been provided of, and DHS has actually come out and said that they reject the report that children were zip tied, emphasizing that ICE officers do not restrain minors.
Respectfully, serendipity, Dawn is putting in the chat. I think I saw similar things too, that they were saying it was multiple children, not the infamous one with the father.
There were only 4 children. There were 4 children detained in that entire raid, ages 9 to 12, and there were 4 children that were detained because of either they were illegal or their parents were illegal, and they were aged 9 to 12. But DHS is saying that none of them were zip tied.
I can go with that if that's what's been uncovered. I haven't had a chance to watch the video yet.
Can you do it right now, Madison? It's not very long.
Sure, I'll check it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of people think when I'm fighting against information, if it's true, I wouldn't fight against it. I wouldn't argue we're missing something here. And the number of people that make up terrible stories when sometimes the truth needs no embellishment. Sometimes the truth is ugly and terrible enough. Just share the truth. When I put in zip-tied kids in X and Moose, you can be stupid about X and not find it valuable. Or you can realize it's a diamond mine with coal and you have to work a bit to get the value out of it. Like, I missed my point because I was touching Moose. Doggone it.
No, but we get your point though, Monica. It's what you're basically saying is the truth doesn't need to be embellished. Yeah.
I searched for zip-tied kids on X, and the latest story was one from May where an 18-year-old teenager was zip-tied with his family, and the younger children weren't. And I put that in chat too.
And see, the greater problem is not the woman, and she sounds nice. I don't have anything, I don't have any animosity towards you. The evil is the fact that she's gotten this information and it's not correct. And it's causing us to go at each other, hate each other, because it's a half truth is a lie.
Yes.
I'm not sure,
okay.
Sorry if I interrupted. But that I've never seen. I wasn't going off of that particular child at all. So
the link you shared was that child.
No, I didn't. I haven't shared any links. So
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But what I was going by, and which I said before, was multiple eyewitness statements from residents and neighbors that zip tying was used, including on children, and the consistency of multiple independent news outlets. And I think these are persuasive. They're not conclusive. I'm not saying that they're conclusive. Maybe we'll find out later on. Maybe we'll find out later on from body cam footage, chain of custody records, their logs, different things like that. But right now, the preponderance of evidence is saying that children were zip tied. Now, if there's something that goes against that, and I'm not including the video, I hadn't even seen that kid who was playing. Somebody has something else, let me know.
It was Nastami. Nastami shared an Instagram video of the kid that we are specifically referencing. And preponderance, Madison, preponderance is not fair. It's not a preponderance of evidence. It's a couple of people reporting. And that's not that it's not evidence, but it's not a preponderance. And we should ask for more evidence than just anecdotal stories.
Well, yeah, that's what actually convicts people to many years of prison is one person even saying that somebody did something. And so what I said was there are multiple witness statements, and you have so many multiple independent news outlets that are reporting that they run the risk of also, and we all know that it's not always true. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying it leads in that direction.
But here's where my suspicion comes in. Everybody always has a cell phone. I just find it hard to believe that if children between the ages of 9 and 12 were put in zip ties, nobody on the street that's heavily dense would have gotten a photo.
Right. There were lots of other photos and footage of that raid. It showed adults in zip ties. Even the body cam of the ICE officers, apparently Kristi Noem has released to some extent, and there were lots of personal videos and pictures floating around, none that included children. Everybody has searched high and low to try and find one that indeed photo everyone is looking for.
And when the last speaker said multiple independent news sources reported on this, you have to say that with the understanding that one person said it, one news source picked it up, and then all the other news sources cited that other source. So it's a bit of a game of telephone with that. It's not like they all have reporters on the ground who were party to this event.
Yeah, I'm going to various media news, and I used to write for a Reuters news service. And I'm going to tell you guys, there was so much pressure to be the first or one of the first to break a story. They don't even, they half-bake things because the worst thing in the world for them is to miss a story. They would rather risk getting it wrong than not reporting on it if it's something that they know that their demo will want to see, or if it fits into a narrative.
Free here.
I think Teresa was talking to me when you were talking about how news works. I did news for CBS for over 20 years. I know exactly how it works. What I was referring to when I said independent websites, I was talking about nonprofits like bookclubchicago.org. If you want to look up that site, you can. Southside Weekly Chicago. So those were the independent sources that I was relying upon in addition to AP and Reuters.
Okay, fair. But are they citing their own original reporting, or are they citing some hearsay that they heard somewhere else? The point stands.
What I read was not just duplicitous in terms of just sharing what was already shared, and I read it like right when it happened a couple days ago, and so that's what I was going off of. But so if you guys are positing that there were no zip ties, do you think that the children were detained or no?
Yes.
Okay, and so if they were detained, they were just running around willy-nilly in a U-Haul? How did they actually detain them?
They detained them in vans on the scene until they were able to place them with guardians. Some up to 3 or 4 hours was what the news was reporting. Yeah, I do believe that they were detained. I do believe that it was probably very traumatic for them. Honestly, the thought of them being ripped from their beds and zip-tied and drug out was horrifying to me. It was absolutely horrifying to me. But at the time, I believed the news reporting and that this was just an apartment building full of potential antibodies. And when I found out that that was not in fact the case, like they had good intel that this Venezuelan gang had set up shop here in this vacant building. And based on the premise of that, that changes things for me. And I'm still horrified that those children were traumatized. I mean, it's never okay to traumatize children, but I have to hold the adults responsible that were squatting in those apartments with them. Like, you're setting yourself up. You're setting your children up for that kind of dangerous potential when you're squatting and you're violating the law and you're not housing them appropriately.
Now, why would you assume that people were squatting based on hearsay?
No.
I believe other elements based on hearsay.
If you look in the video above, if you look in closed on. The bank owned the building, and then they were going to renovate it before rehiring a property management contract. It was a vacant building. It was supposed to be vacant. No one was supposed to be in there.
To Madison's point, though, so it says on zip ties, you're taking anyone into custody, right? Children, for their own safety, like they have to somehow. And now they have a bunch of seatbelts in the police van or the ICE van that they drove off in. They have to be detained, be it R with handcuffs or zip ties, something to secure them. I don't see how else you take children into custody for, that, if, I don't think the ICE agent just said, all right, kids, everybody has to sit down now. This is, quiet time.
No, ICE is not allowed to transport.
While their family are being, traumatized.
ICE is not allowed to transport them. They actually had to stay in the van on the site. DHS is the only one that can actually transport the children. And to my knowledge, DHS was not called to pick them up because they were basically just trying to place each of the children with a legal guardian.
That makes more sense.
So,
I'm saying
was that you that was just saying the family was getting traumatized? No, those grown-ass adults traumatize their own children by coming to America and being drug dealers. I'm sorry. The children, my heart goes to, because I don't think they were taken in the route that they should have been. But to get them away from those little fuckers, yeah, I don't know what you do. I don't think they had enough to take them away appropriately. But as far as the family being traumatized, no. Their parents deserve to be in prison if they have to get shipped out of the U.S. and sit in prison for the rest of their lives. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's, I think respectfully, you misunderstand. I didn't say the drug dealing family, the actual drug dealers, the actual cartel members. I said the citizens that were caught up and that were squatting, that were allegedly squatting, that were not at all, had zero connection to the Venezuelan cartel. Specifically, those families and their trauma. Go ahead, Joyce.
Not at all. All right. So I have something to clarify about the article in Book Club Chicago. I am familiar with Book Club. I stay on top of news in Chicago as a city that I'm interested in, and a place I lived for many years. Anyway, the only original reporting I see in the article is where it says residents told Book Club that their doors were kicked in. There's nothing about children being zip-tied. The only reference to children being zip-tied is a direct quote from a press conference that J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, gave, where he said there's widespread report children being zip-tied. So they don't have anyone that they reported on saying children were zip-tied. In fact, they didn't even quote anyone. They just said residents told Book Club their doors were kicked in. So that's kind of weasel reporting, in my opinion, where they can't even quote someone directly. In any case, the only mention of zip ties are, again, J.B. Pritzker saying it, or them citing a New York Times article.
And the fact, sorry, I was taking a shower while I was listening, but whoever mentioned about the fact they came in at 1 a.m. I work for Department of Corrections for the state of Virginia, for only 3.5 years, but my job, the only job I had, was to do home verifications. And guess when I found them? I found them on Super Bowl Sunday. I found them. I knew exactly when to find them. Guess when I found them? Between 11 at night to about 2 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't a fun job. Kind of scary, but I knew these people weren't going to hurt me because their life depended on me. Because if I violated them, they'd be back in prison. But that is not a weird time for government officials to come in. 1 o'clock in the morning? No, not. You know you're going to find the little shit somewhere. So I see that I've been trying to dig deep into this building, and I've been doing that. And what I'm finding is that yes, it was into foreclosure, but right after the raid, Wells Fargo put it into receivership. And when they did, they treated it as an operating apartment building, not an abandoned building. So receivers are appointed to stabilize income properties, typically like with rent rolls and tenants. And so just based on that move alone, I'm looking for leases and that sort of a thing. But it does look like some of the units were abandoned, but it doesn't look like everybody in that building was squatting from what I've been able to find out so far.
What's the address, please?
1 second. 7500 South Shore Drive, Chicago, 60649. I've got the park number if you need that as well.
Madison, I've actually been looking at the same thing. Apparently 2 weeks ago, county inspectors had come out and basically condemned it. Put the notice was up on the building that it was condemned and that the building housed dozens of residents, largely including undocumented individuals who were occupying vacant units, often referred to as squatters. I'm looking to see if there was actually anybody like on a lease.
I know some Florida Detroit that runs like 14 buildings like that are basically condemned, and nobody's doing anything about it, and they still collect rent every month.
Chicago building inspectors visited property 2 weeks prior to the raid on September 16th. They documented unsafe conditions such as broken windows, water damage, mold, broken doors, illegal electrical setups. So, observed. The building's history includes prior city lawsuits over slum-like conditions, leading to vacate orders in nearby buildings. Because I wondered the same thing. I was like, let's just verify it, make sure there was no like active leases in this building.
The last time I see a unit available for rent publicly listed was in 23.
I thought there were still active listings on, I think, apartments.com.
Hey, moderators, I'd like to get put into queue. I know this address question is interesting, but if I could get 60 seconds of your precious clown house time.
No, Mods, please.
We can, both sides of the aisle can agree on that, I think, Teresa.
Yeah, if you go on apartments.com, you can just 2 weeks ago you can rent. It's $9.75 a month at this very building.
Well, the building was in ruins and partially occupied by squatters. The residents were living there under dire circumstances, and the raid abruptly displaced many without prior notice or relocation support. It doesn't really. Let me see Hawkins mentioned. Serendipity, this comes back to a question I had earlier, where all the people that have so much concern about everything, but they don't do anything about it. They don't go to their city council. They don't go anywhere. They just come onto social media and bitch about it, but they don't do anything to help anything. I mean, my daughter was an asshole in high school and in middle school. Guess what I did? I went to board meetings. Hey, we need to get tighter rules. Apparently,
children are misbehaving at school. But nobody does anything about it. I think the ultimate lesson.
I just want to call attention to that classic title you have there. That's it.
Yeah, Madison, I just checked out the links you put in the chat, and there are indeed active and current listings. Is that addressed?
Listings can be up and not actually be real or active.
Abandoning them amid restructuring. I mean, I think this is a great lesson. If everybody's so concerned for, excuse my maybe slight attitude, everybody's concerned for the kids and stuff. Like, I get that. But when individuals who own private property are prevented from exercising their rightful control over their private property, social order is going to deteriorate. That social deterioration is going to invite the beautiful and wonderful coercive state that's going to come in, and it's going to harm things that could have been completely preventable.
We already live with a corrupt judiciary, Bima. Nothing's new under the sun. It's already corrupt.
I'm just saying. So if you're one of those people who think that you have some, I have no idea, in fact, even weird, it's pretty much insanity however you're going to justify it, right, to control other people's private property, or you think government should limit people from how they control their private property. Well, this is an excellent example. People lose control of their private property. Okay, so then what happens? Criminal occupation, and then the state comes in violently and harms some innocent people. Innocent people get harmed in the making. Just let peaceful people who own private property handle their private property. They control it. It's private property or it's not. So we can't even call it private property. It's a contradiction here in the United States because you don't actually have the right to use and get rid of your private property. What is private property?
I mean, I don't have any issue with enforcement. I think that all laws, especially immigration laws, need to be enforced, period. But if you're renting or squatting, if you're an American citizen, you need probable cause, you need a warrant, and a proportional use of force and humane treatment, period. That's where I land on it. So do what the hell you gotta do in terms.
Yeah, well, when you have international narcotic terrorists living in apartment buildings in Chicago, sometimes a military response is warranted.
So, Deputy, okay, I want to clarify one other thing. You have to go on a site more like Red to verify that listings are current and active. Those have to be verified as you having the exclusive right to rent them on the MLS systems, where apartments.com is sort of like a Craigslist that you pay for. Anyone can post anything. You can leave up your post indefinitely. So the fact that it's not on Redfin, but it is on apartments.com indicates it probably is an idle ghost.
It's a listing platform. They're both listing platforms.
And I would like to
They're not the same platform.
I would like to say too that ICE did have probable cause warrants for that raid.
Well, then that confirms what Madison is saying. Madison agrees with the actions they took.
And
yes, it was.
They should have had individual apartments.
The private property. They couldn't because they couldn't validate the squatters. But they did have probable cause and reasonable grounds to conduct the raid, and it had been approved by DHS. Government shouldn't interfere with people that have private property. Let them deal with their own private property their way. They didn't. They were squatters. It wasn't their property.
Yeah, and if that was true, BMI, nobody would have to pay property taxes.
Hey, John, control yourself. I'm not talking about the squatters.
I'm talking about the people who own the building. Who does the private property belong to?
It's properties.
You keep saying squatters, there's evidence about squatter, but y'all need evidence that people were zip tied. Like, you can't have it both ways. There's no evidence to show that everybody was squatting in that building.
No, there's no evidence, but there is evidence to show that the building was primarily occupied by Venezuelan squatters.
Oh, there is evidence of that?
Yeah, there's hold on, oh shit, damn it, I just lost my link.
Yeah, they had probable cause. Do you think they just went in there without any paperwork?
Guaranteed they weren't able to deal with. You think that the bank, that they had no idea what was going on with their building?
It's an investor. It's an owner. It has nothing to do with the legal enforcement that came down on the illegal aliens in that building.
Most of the time what happens, and this is whatever, is there are squatters and you can't legally take care of them because you have all this red tape of what you can and can't do.
We're talking about two entirely different things. If you're enforcing landlord rights against squatters,
That's not good enough evidence.
And have you guys seen? There's been stories about squatters that gone into homes. There was one woman who inherited her mother's house and could not get into the home illegally and got arrested because she was like, I did not sanction this. These people were in my house. And she was, you guys, I really can't.
The building reported the squatters. According to this report. ICE's authority to enter and search the building stemmed from a judicial warrant that was issued by a federal judge based on the probable cause that the property was being used as a hub for illegal immigration-related activities, including human smuggling and harboring undocumented individuals. The sources for the probable cause warrant included residents and property managers of the building reporting an ongoing issue with these squatters. Surveillance and observation plans then went into place. ICE agents conducted preliminary observations from public areas to gather evidence of the unauthorized occupancy, such as multiple unrelated individuals entering and exiting, signs of overcrowding, and discarded belongings. Under the Fourth Amendment plain view observations, these also contributed to the probable cause warrant. The building's visible disrepair, shattered windows, debris-filled hallways, and ransacked units suggested that it was in a state of obvious neglect, making it easier to identify as a squatter hotspot. Collaboration also with local law enforcement and the property owners. The new management company overseeing the building provided records of other utilities, unauthorized utility hookups, eviction notices for squatters, alerting ICE to the presence of non-tenant occupants that they could not remove. ICE oftentimes partners with local law enforcement for joint operations and building access logs and maintenance reports to show irregular occupancy patterns. This is all part of their probable cause warrant.
So if there was a judicial warrant, I would love to see the link to that, because if there was, ICE most definitely has shown it. They would not omit something like that. So that warrant should be all over the place. I'd love to see it.
did you see this at a new endorsement?
I'll work to substantiate my claims, but there is a point in time when people are asking me to work too hard, and maybe the onus of research and validation could be shared. Since I'm not getting paid for my labor.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that. All I did was ask because the Fourth Amendment was mentioned. Because yes, you do need a judicial search warrant, but that's why, not just an ICE administrative warrant. Okay, so all I'm saying is that if they had a judicial search warrant, that shit should be plastered everywhere, and it should be relatively easy to just post it. That's all I'm saying. Not doing actual work. If you're reading from something and that's what it's saying, I'm just asking to see it because I would love to see it.
Madison, by my count, your arguments are like, you haven't won one yet. And some civil discourse, and I appreciate it. But listen, I'm making supper and Serendipity is driving.
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry.
I got it.
Okay.
I'm pulling her information right now. Apparently Chicago Sun-Times reported that there was a judicial warrant. Reports indicate the operation was supported by judicial warrants, including arrest warrants for specific individuals, 6 high-priority targets with gang ties. Residents and witnesses reported agent referencing warrants for entry and detentions, though some accounts describe a broad sweep. Chicago Sun-Times is from CBS News is one of the ones that reported that there were judicial warrants for this raid. Judicial warrants for federal operations like this are typically sealed and not immediately available for public release due to ongoing investigations. However, related court documents are accessible via the Clerk of Circuit Court of Cook County's online search portal. So, there you go.
You see, it's just a big nothing burger when it comes to liberals and their fall rage about enforcement of laws, protection of our citizens. It's always just a wasted time nothing burger.
And depending on the state you live in, I don't know 1 out of the 50 that you give a 15-day notice, which that's all they've given that. Illinois also says repeat that again at 30-day. Okay, cool. That's done. But the owner of the building has every opportunity to go out, take the door off the hinges, and remove their doors. And whoever possibly comes in or in.
Beth, I'm sorry, but you're way off. Chicago, along with New York City, are some of the most anti-landlord cities as far as the legal system is structured. Like, the landlord would be in jail if they did that.
I will bring this up tomorrow morning if anybody's up at 6:30 Eastern time. I will bring this up in our not get up and grow, in our early morning. It's called ERDS, and we have agents all over the world, but we have a bunch in Illinois, and I want to hear their opinion on this. Actual professionals in that area that can speak on it. I don't sell real estate in that state. I pass it on, but yeah, there's things you can do.
Kitover, how about that poem?
Yeah, I'd be happy to read you a 60-second poem. Thanks for asking, Monica. And great room, by the way. Sometimes, you know what I realize is it's really like a me problem. Why, if I come on Clubhouse and I listen to people and they're making me angry, I feel like at that point where I'm just like, it's totally a me problem. There's no reason to get angry with anybody on here for what they say, how they say it. It's insane to sit here and just yell at people that you don't agree with because you don't like what they're saying. It's just, I don't see how that benefits me personally. And so, because, my peace and my stability and my equilibrium and my harmony and balance, like, that's what's more important than getting into a heated conversation with somebody on this app that I don't agree with. But let me go on to the poem. Well, that's why I read books.
Problem of the parents, not the kids. I mean, these days with domestic terrorism that we have, that's rampant everywhere. If I take my kids to church, if I send my kids to school, and they get their heads blown off by some of these crazies, which is rampant in our society right now, but nobody wants to talk about it, then I guess it's my issue as a parent. I shouldn't have done that.
Well, I like the book club, aka a library, which can be a greater parent than a lot of negligent parents. And it's up to you to want to change your life. If you want to add programming to your life, it's called reading a book. No one's ever learned a thing on Clubhouse, and I have all the psychological observational studies to prove it.
Thanks for walking us through your stream of consciousness, John.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Why do they, when we talk about safety of children and stuff like that in school, people love to bring up school shootings, right? Like, we need to look out for the children. We need to pass these laws and stuff like that. Honestly, I hate when people do that because honestly, they really don't give two shits about kids' safety. Because if they did, then they would allow in to get seatbelts on school buses, right? Not a single fucking seatbelt is on a fucking school bus. If you really care about kids, you would want to safety on their way to fucking school, not once they get to school. It's the most dangerous fucking place for a child to be in is on a school bus driven by some fucking maniac with no fucking seatbelt. How do they know how to kick for seatbelts?
Quick. Now someone connects an idea that's totally unrelated to everything we've been talking about.
That is because I just got into the room. Thank you, genius.
Yeah, just listen before you speak in order, maybe.
Nah, how about I not?
Okay, are you ready for this poem? Can we put the dispute aside?
Dear Lord Jesus, help us all. They go for it. No, I'm kidding. I love your poems.
I just wanted to go on the seatbelt tangent because in my state, they are mandated. So maybe check your local situations and see where that is.
Check your local autism.
Just go to your local library if you want to change your life. Library.
Kitover.
Yeah, are you ready?
A brief poem, yes?
Yeah, it's brief.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is a poem. Take the deepest breath of the day. Hold it for 10 seconds. It's called The Rose and the Cross. Out of the seething cauldron of my woes, where sweets and salt and bitterness I flung, where charmed music gathered from my tongue, and where I changed strange archipelagos of fallen stars, where fiery passion flows, a curious bitumen, where among the glowing medley moved the tune unsung of perfect love, thence grew the mystic rose, its myriad petals of divided light, its leaves of the most radiant emerald, its heart of fire like rubies. At the sight, I lifted up my heart to God and called, how shall I pluck this dream of my desire? And lo, there shaped itself the cross of fire.
That's actually good. I'm not gonna lie.
Between 2013 and 2024, 83 kids were killed on school buses and accidents. That's not very many for 11 years.
Does that statistic happen to say how many accidents that included?
No, it's the total number is about 280. 80 of them were kids on the bus. 90 or so of them are kids, pedestrians, and then the rest of them are kids in the cars that were involved in the accidents with the buses.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds like a legit issue. It's only 9 states that require it.
I don't think it's like a legit situation. It's 80 people in 11 years out of 365 million Americans.
No, I'm saying one kid though. You know, one one kid is worth wearing the seatbelt on a big school bus, which, not my concern, but I'm just, other people's kids may need it.
I don't know. Seems like a pretty minor thing.
I don't think a loss of life is a minor thing. My daughter's she's 18 years old. She's never been on a public school bus in her whole life. But I don't think losing one kid is a minor thing.
Oh my gosh, please don't characterize what I just said as this. Like, come on, you don't make fucking laws for the nation based on one death. This is a fucking ridiculous argument at this point. Stop. They're ridiculous. People die. You can't make fucking national laws because one person dies from something or 80 people die from something. Yes, it's really, okay, for the record, it's really, really sad when a kid dies there. I have a fucking heart.
So Mike, I mean, think about the colloquial term Amber Alert.
Yeah, I'm not worried about school bus accidents for kids. That's what they are, man. They happen. Shit happens.
Oh, sorry.
But usually
you're in the head today.
Usually when people get laws named after them, it's because it's been happening a lot, usually, and or a specific thing has been happening a lot. People have been complaining a lot. Other people are involved. Other lives are involved. So it's not just about one person. It's about, people usually name laws after people when they've just about had enough of this shit. You know what I mean?
I got into this, not an argument, but a conversation with my colleagues this morning because I'm supposed to go down to Miami for a conference, and they're like, well, you can take the right line. And I'm like, I'd rather go I-95 than risk myself on the bright line. So they're pulling up all the stats. Well, in the county I live in, that bright line, like, not that it's their fault, but it kind of is. But we've lost a ton of people since it started moving through the county because the arms aren't set up correctly. The engineers can't figure out why the arms won't come down and stop traffic. Traffic keeps trying to move. People keep getting killed. But one life is enough. Like, maybe I'm weird.
In the moonlight.
Well, apparently, this is according to random people on Reddit. There are reasons why there's not seatbelts on school buses. It's something to do with, I've seen two things. One is the seats are really high and they're kind of built for them to, there's some protection there. And also,
Well, we all do a lot of talking about what a horrible man I am for not being more stressed out.
fire in the roof. It's faster to scoop up lightly banged up kids and cut all those belts off. So I'm sure they thought about this whole seatbelt on school buses thing. There may be a safety reason for not having school seatbelts on there.
Yes, of course the seats are a major part of protecting kids. They're fucking taller than the kids and they're padded on all sides. Yes, you bounce around in the seats if something happens. It's a fucking school bus, for God's sake. Listen, while we all look at what a horrible person I am for not being completely freaked out over 80 kids
Did
dying.
someone call you a horrible person?
80 years and
Who called you a horrible person? I didn't see
80 kids
anybody.
dying in years from school buses. Let's talk about the 2,800
Did you
kids
just
that died.
trust me?
Let's talk, yes, because I'm talking right now and you're over talking.
Yeah, but you're being a diva about it.
While we're going into the
How about no? Like, nobody called you an evil demon. Like, wherever you got the insults from, I didn't hear them. So you're overreacting, you're cursing a lot. Can you not curse and I'll give you the mic? Can you just ease up? Bring it to a 3 or a 4? You. I'm talking to you. Please. Your energy is a little hot.
So, while we're talking about the 80 kids dying on school buses in 11 years, can we talk about the 2,800 kids that died last year by dozens?
You muted me, Serendipity. We haven't had a conversation about what happens when you touch my PTR without my consent.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, didn't you mute me about 2 weeks ago, Monica?
2 weeks
Yeah, you
ago?
did. There's another
2
customer.
weeks ago?
Fuck, yeah, you
2
did.
weeks ago?
Fuck, yeah, you did.
2 weeks ago, Mike?
Fuck, yeah, you did.
Special matter to those.
Okay.
Fuck, yeah, you
Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Meg, I just have to correct you on something. Yes, 80 children died from 2013 to 2022, but only 35 of them were on the school bus, so get your numbers straight,
And
mister.
2,800 were shot last year to death. So we're not concerned about the 2,800. We're more concerned about the 35.
Is Adrian even in here who introduced this topic that was weak to begin with? No, he's not in here.
Monica, why don't you take a giant fucking chill pill?
You have my support.
I'm not the fucking one that's coughing all over the
Why don't
fucking
you take a
place.
giant fucking chill pill?
Oh my god, I think you need to
You heard me guys on the news, Monica? Just a shock to you?
It's a shock to me. Okay, so another awesome question. Everybody is very spicy tonight. Did you guys have all day? All day. Monday blues. Our room did start nice.
Raise yourself.
Yes.
Because honestly, 2 hours ago, I had planned to exit quietly and dump the room on them, and they've just been so entertaining and informative and engaging. Sig, I came up with the idea of having black conservative men versus woke, maybe not woke, liberal women in a replay where we can have a frank discussion about the labels and the inability for people to hold space for conservative ideas. And I'm pretty excited about it. Free said he would leave, and we wanted to tap you and a couple other people. Free, was it Thomas? We said Dope, and maybe a couple more.
Family events and the one holiday.
So, Free said you wouldn't have a problem. It doesn't matter if you're conservative or libertarian. My point is,
They actually wanted a mixture.
when I'm in the politically correct rooms, when I'm in the left-leaning rooms, when I'm in those rooms, the conservative men are not really allowed to make their points or even discuss their ideas. They're shut down almost immediately, and I thought it would be a valuable room. The seatbelt argument was not worth having, and people insisting that we have it
Well,
is frustrating.
this is childish talking about people being injured on buses. You know, if you come on this app and you yell at individuals as opposed to just stating your opinion about whatever the topic is, well then, you know, you kind of ruin the experience. You don't make it fun anymore. But I mean, how childish is it to sit here and argue about school bus injuries when we euthanize and abort, 60 to 80,000 babies in this country every month? So let's not waste our time here. Either shut up or we will zip tie your kids. Anti-USA propaganda.
Yeah. So there you have it, folks.
PTR.
You lost me on we're having fun here.
Like, I don't know how you did that, but it looks just like you, but in avatar form.
I just did it play around on ChatGPT because my husband made it my kids. I was like, how do you do that? But then I just was playing while I was sitting here.
Oh, super cute. And I wanted to because I think Mike was in that room helping, and I think maybe Monica and some of the others. I just wanted to give them kudos. Holly has been utilizing some of the ideas that she got from some of us on Clubhouse with her kiddos, and she has been wildly successful.
That's right. So you do learn some things on Clubhouse.
Well, I mean, Joe said we're not having fun. I mean, if you can learn anything, you can learn how to have fun and not stress yourself out. People come here to road rage. That is technically stressing yourself out.
We have laughed until we've had stitches in our sides several nights with our music rooms, our Russian music roulette.
Serendipity, because I'm just going to address serendipity. Did I just hear John Kitover's voice? Okay, so this is another time. Okay, let me go ahead and block this one. Yeah, John, you are blocked. There you go. You are blocked. Thank you.
Well, thank you very little. I'm blocking you on all my accounts as well.
Oh, good.
Let me block you. Dr. Slippers, blocked. There you go, blocked. You're blocked. Blocked on Instagram, blocked on YouTube, blocked on Snapchat, blocked on all major platforms. Goodbye, whoever you were. I don't know who you are or what your name is. Bye-bye.
Hi, Naveen.
How are you? I just got kicked out of my school's Board of Education meeting.
No.
You got kicked out?
Tell us.
For grandstanding. So basically, the district had a vacant board seat, and a lot of these ladies were coming up, and rightfully so. I agreed with them. They're like, you just appointed someone new, you applied. I was one of the applicants, but I didn't get an interview. But many of them also didn't, and their husbands, I guess, didn't also. And so they were speaking out against it, saying you should have done a special election. You have a right to do a special election. You chose not to. You chose to appoint, and you appointed someone to it. And we're not saying that person's not qualified, but we're just saying blah, 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 blah. And then they kept giving these speeches to these ladies saying, we're in a country that right now is dying at the president who wants to cancel all elections and who hates our country, and our children are feeling discriminated against, and they don't feel comfortable living. You guys are the light that we have, which is our school board, and you guys are just appointing people, not doing a special election, and not telling us how you're appointing the people. And the fact is, you guys are enabling Donald Trump, and you guys are. I just stood up saying, I agree with everything you said except for the last part. Donald Trump's not racist. Republicans aren't racist. And then I went on for a rant about how you're just being misled, and they started shouting back at me that why are brown people being locked up? I said, well, I'm here right now, and no one has locked me out, and no one's pulling me out. And Lee said, well, that's because you're born here. I said, oh, okay. And she's like, but if you want me to be locked up, I was like, okay. And so I said, well, I know a lot of born here that are green cards, and they're not being locked up. And she just looked at me and said, well, you're teaching our kids that being brown is a problem. So I'm not teaching them anything. But the president may be, if you believe that, or others. But is anything do you disagree with it? Yes, because they're targeting people, and these are all black ladies. They're targeting people that look like us, and they want to kill. They would like us to be dead. They like us to do all. I was like, okay, all right. I just stood up and I just made some comments that were just kind of rude, saying you guys have no idea what's happening in politics. You need to stop watching Joy Reid and and stop watching Joy Reid and start actually paying attention to what's truly happening. Fix the school board here. It's here. I got your support on getting a special election. There shouldn't be an appointment. That's what corrupt, swamp-like people do in these situations. So I agree with you, the blacks, but there's no need to drag the federal shit into it. Fix your local government, and then trickle it up if you want. And then these ladies like her, so they kick me out.
It was 11 or 13 board.
I'm sorry?
that former
There's
speaker
no
is.
no. The board has one guy who's brown in, who's actually of Indian descent, but he's actually a Christian. His name is Dr. John Matthew or Matthew John or something like that. Okay. They have one lady who's from Pakistan, Nadia Bilal, who's a huge Democrat donor, who was appointed also. Both of them were appointed. And I'm like,
Buddy,
Hope you come out early. She won't get a stuff full of cum in the morning anymore.
you are mad at your sexuality.
Daddy won't bust in her butt anymore.
Listen, resistance, this is your safe space to come out. You can come out. You can be who you want to be. We are here to support you.
This is exciting.
Towards women. Because you are just so, your repressed sexuality makes you women.
He left the room, by the way. I don't know if you're blind, but.
He went to go eat his prison filet mignon.
Well, I'd like to read a poem in honor of resistance coming out as a dick sucker, faggot, anal play faggot. Congratulations, resistance. You're not a protected group because you are an anti-Zionist, Jew-hating, racist, low IQ piece of shit who has attacked people in the real world, harming people because he's a domestic terrorist. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This song is dedicated to our piece of shit friend on this piece of shit app, Resistance. It's called The Hymn to Apollo. Also, I want to dedicate this song to the most beautiful woman on Clubhouse, Narges. Without Narges, the world would have already imploded. It's her beauty and love which keeps the skies afloat. This is called The Hymn to Narges. God of the golden face and fiery forehead, Lord of the lions, house of strength, exalted in the ram's horns, O ruler of the vaulted heavenly hollow, send out thy rays, majestic and the torrid. Oh, you're another one with your big fake face, all your disgusting injections, your disgusting Botox, your sickening lip fillers. You look like a clown. And the torrid light of thy song, thy countenance most splendid, bend to the suppliant on his face extended. Hear me, Apollo! Let thy fierce... Oh no, don't mod Wednesday. She's a domestic terrorist. She's a lip filler, facial injectionist, Botoxologist. She looks like she's 78 living in Boca and she hates the Jews. She's the biggest Jew on here. She's fake. She's totally fake. Wednesday's whole face looks like a balloon blimp.
Part of the control system, and there's AI tech up there
Yo.
that creates the light that lures people to it. People feel drawn to it, and in the AI, there's
Roasted that
exactly
bitch.
to guilt people into coming back to it because we have to consent. And the minute you get close enough to that light, it zaps your memory.
I don't know.
And your soul step back.
Hanging out with all the fucking Terrys lately.
Yeah, well, he likes... I think he might be recording.
Okay.
I mean, I encourage him to...
Trollery. I just thought that was fucking funny in the state. I don't want you there, bro.
Okay, thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay.
If you keep doing like that, just wait till you have some kids. They gonna do you the same way you did me, or they gonna do you worse. I've heard things like that my whole life growing up in the kind of family that I have, And so I think that sometimes we recontextualize things based on how we feel, which may not even necessarily be specific to that reality. Because first of all, the conversation about Semitic peoples and whether or not they were people of color, and versus, came in and whether and the other children. There's a whole lot to unweave, but I want to deal with
Orlando.
Yeah.
You use so many words. I don't understand what you're saying. You just so many words. Like, do you think the Bible condones slavery, or do you think the Bible doesn't condone slavery?
I was responding to what Jeremy actually said, and he brought up like several different points. And so
yes or no? Do you think the Bible supports slavery?
And Benjamin, you were here, right, when I gave the explanation. So you know my response, right?
No, man. Why is that hard? It either does it or it doesn't does it.
No.
You can't just say
in an attempt to be honest. I want to answer Jeremy's question, and then we can have the conversation.
You answer questions, or you just
Jeremy asked me
words.
Jeremy asked me. You're asking me a question now. Why would I respect you more than I respect Jeremy?
I don't know that you respect anybody's time here because you just use words endlessly to say nothing. Like
I love
the poor slavery.
Yeah, I don't think it's not that it's not an answer of does support or does not support, because we can create laws ourselves and then there can be commentary on it. So it's not necessarily a matter of does it support it or does it not support it necessarily. So
Salem understands.
So I can't use the word. You can't use the word
for this stuff
without defining the word that you're using. You can't use the word because does the Bible condone transatlantic slave trade? Does the Bible condone chattel slavery?
I don't ask about anything transatlantic.
Listen, Benjamin, one day our ancestors are going to be looking at the fact that we work 12-hour days, and they're going to be like, did Benjamin really condone 12-hour workdays? They were monsters. They were freaking out of their minds. They were what is it called? Masochists, or I don't know. In the future, they're going to be looking at the fact that we work 6 days out of the week, 12 hours a week, and they're going to look at us and think that we were brutal, that we were just had no concept. Good night, y'all. Good night.
Jesus, in the New Testament, Luke, Jesus said, "A slave that does not listen and obey his master's voice shall be beaten with many stripes." That means beaten to within an inch of your life. So, like, do you support the idea of beating people who you own and that whose ownership passes on to your own children?
So that's the funny thing that you're asking. Like, do you support like
they don't do what you say?
So listen, okay?
So then I asked the question, use the word slavery.
Yeah, so listen to me, okay? You have to take into consideration the progress of humanity and where we come from. Let's say, for example, now in 2025, I have like psychology books and I have all these different methods.
Get rid of
Hold on, stop.
Those are useless.
Stop. Don't fuck with me. I have all these things at my disposal on how to deal with the kid and all these methods, right? If you're dealing with somebody who is a tribal person in the mountains and they deal with their child like how a bear deals with their child, like pushes the bear over or pushes the bear down the hill so the bear has to climb up it, or uses physical ways to convey to its little one, don't do that. And you're going to take that mindset to where we are now and compare them. That's you, bro. That's your problem. Like, you're going back into history when humanity, this was the methodology that they conveyed to their children. Don't touch that. Don't do that at this level. Because guess what? They didn't have books to read on methods. Like, you know how much psychology it takes to learn how to interact with your child without getting mad? Like, just don't even say like picking up a rod or like a bell. Just not getting mad at your kids. Do you know how much tools you need at your disposal to learn how to navigate that? And you want to go back into a time.
Yeah, maybe you should read a poem to your child instead of getting angry and yelling at your child. And moderators, I'd like to request 60 seconds of your precious time to read a poem.
So I agree so much with what you said. Like, I think, parents who spank their kids absolutely challenge abuse. But Orlando and Benjamin will not shy away from chapter verse in this room tonight. And every time that we need to go, if you're okay with it, Sella.
Wait, I'm fine with it. I think that we need to take into consideration the time, the place, and the resources that these people had at their disposal when talking about it.
I agree. God has probably matured a lot since.
It's not God. It's us. It's us, Dorco. It's us. And even if you look at the Bible, you can see the hand of God moving. I mean, I believe that people are being utilized to convey the Spirit of God and what God is saying. Like right now, I can't get.
It's just that's
the way that I believe. That's how I believe.
Well, I know Benjamin is so fascinating, but I would just like to request 60 seconds of your time to read a beautiful poem about God.
Unless it's a chapter verse, I don't want to hear it counted. Benjamin?
Yes, it is chapter and verse. It's from the collected and selected poems of Aleister Crowley.
So Benjamin, and I'll leave up my this. If I can just, Galatians 3:28. There's neither Jew nor Greek. There's neither bond nor free. There's neither male nor female. For ye are all one in Christ Jesus. And so Benjamin, if you can come up here and talk about how Jesus promoted slavery, brother, I'm going to have to ask you for chapter.
Well, I'd like to just read a quick poem. I know you guys can debate all night. Can I get 60 seconds of your time to read a poem?
Jeremy, if you want to read it, you can. I'm okay with that.
You could also just say, yes, I'd like to listen to your poem, John.
As an honorary doctorate, and you just ask that doctor to remove this man's appendix, because that is not only unresponsible, irresponsible.
This is what I'm saying. I'm okay with the 60-second film. I don't know why you all are not. Like 60 seconds.
So Salem, he said he was going to read a poem from Aleister Crowley. Are you going to allow that in your room?
I'm actually very intrigued to see what Aleister Crowley has to say in 60 seconds.
He was a theist. He was a devil. But he was. I was trolling there.
Honestly, like,
you notice every atheist is a theist. I'm so sorry. Well, he wasn't an atheist. He really was a theist. He just believed in multiple gods.
I want to get back to this, Jeremy. Reading this neither male nor female. Jeremy, do you think that God?
Well, I hate to interrupt you, Benjamin, but I just need 60. I want to request 60 seconds to read a poem. Isn't that possible, moderators?
I'll answer your question, brother, after we hear from Kennedy. It's just after 60 seconds. Let's not Jimmy Kimmel this man. This isn't a uniquely American room. Unless so it says it is.
Do you think that
one mic on Jimmy Kimmel?
Okay, here we go. This is called La Pensure by Aleister Crowley. It's about 40 seconds. Here we go. Blind agony of thought. Who turns his pen or brush or lyre to art shall see in this the symbol of his battle against man. For man, the picture of the torturing bliss of his necessity, sits clutched and closed into himself the adept of wizard thought. Gripped in his own embrace he sits, keen-nosed, the invisible bloodhounds ache upon the slot. Soon they are on him, soon the fangs of hate, The sharp teeth of the infinite are in him. Shall love or fame or gold those pangs abate? What siren with smooth voice and breast shall win him? Never a one, be sure. In serene awe, the thinker formulates eternal law.
Orlando's approach. You just stack the words up in no particular order.
Okay, Benjamin, you're not gonna keep disrespecting, bro.
Honestly, I really love his commentary. Like, I love hearing from him. I love him participating. He's one of my favorite people to give commentary on Clubhouse. I don't know where you're getting that from.
And I haven't insulted you one time, Benjamin, even though you've insulted everybody. It's just like you're miserable.
Let me get in here, because I'll insult the fuck out of this guy. God damn, God
Yeah, Benjamin, this is Benjamin's shtick. He's just like a pile of turds who goes around complaining and saying, genocide, genocide, genocide.
I mean, you are a genocidal making it.
Hey, I'm gonna ask that as a question. If somebody supports genocide or like blatantly sees a genocide and then denies it's a genocide, even though like all the scholars are saying it's a genocide, most readers are saying it's a genocide, does that make them a genocidal person, or they just support?
Is it a genocide now, or is it a genocide in hindsight or retrospective? Like, what genocide in the timeline of timelines is the genocide? That's what I want to know.
And maybe the holiday is that thing where God kills all those Egyptian children. I think they call it the Passover.
Benjamin, don't deflect. I really want to dig deep. You have your own agenda. Like, you have your own agenda. Listen to the words I'm coming out. If you're looking at a genocide and it's right in front of your face, forget like all the things you can apply to it.
Is Planned Parenthood considered a genocide right in front of my face? All those babies aborted, 80,000 a month for $1 billion a month. Are those part of the genocide in America?
You're legitimately looking at a genocide before you, and then you deny that it's a genocide. Are you a genocidal?
You're a genocide denier, and there's nothing worse than being a genocide denier.
Here's the super nuanced and uncomfortable answer to that, Saba. And this is going to be super uncomfortable, okay? And I'm going to answer you first because fuck everyone who comes off mic to not answer the question. The answer is yes. I do think they're genocidal, or they're genociders, or whatever you want to call them. But here's the super uncomfortable question, Saba. If 70% of the funding of that genocide comes from one country, and people from that country who didn't vote for the leader of that country, but as citizens of that fucking country that is funding 70% of the money and the bombs that is like committing that genocide, are they responsible? And I'll land with this. When was the last time that you made a distinction between the non-Jewish Germans who didn't vote for Hitler that stood by while those fucking trains filled with Jews? So my question is this, Bella. When is it okay for the rest of the world to point the finger at every single fucking American and say, you are responsible for this genocide? It is your tax dollars that has paid for 70% of this genocide. It is your bombs, it is your bullets that have shot these little kids over and fucking over again. And you stand here and demand that your Second Amendment is to prevent your democracy from being stolen, and you haven't taken out your guns yet? How dare you?
Like, that's exactly
How dare you?
I genuinely feel like Jeremy is saying. Like, listen, when I go out, right, I'm sitting there, like, I do performances and stuff like that. I'm sitting in the back of the club, and I'm looking at everyone's face, and I'm almost like, I want to say, like, it's like I hate everybody, right? And I'm thinking to myself, we all failed them. Like I'm thinking about Sudan, I'm thinking about Palestine. I don't think everyone's like this. I just think there's a few people in the world that even when they're walking around, they carry that stuff in their heart. And like, I happen to be one of them. But I'm sitting there looking at all of the faces and I'm like, I blame all of us. Like, even myself. Like, there's this loathing that we as human beings or we as Americans have done this or have failed them. The feeling that Jeremy is expressing, I feel that on a daily basis when I look around a room of even strangers. I'm like, all of us are participating.
Yeah, but that's not how you're going to change the situation. What Jeremy does isn't going to change anything. That's not meditation. That's not peace building. That's not prayer. That's not solitude.
We could literally, like, the fact that we're not, like, the fact that I don't just right now go out and walk out in traffic and lay down. Like, I feel a sense of guilt for that, you know? But anyway, I feel what Jeremy was saying.
He wasn't saying nothing. He was yelling, screaming as usual.
Genocide is not a genocide. It's not genocide, regardless of what these safe words don't kill people. People who kill people are genocide. That's how I would draw.
I don't think so. Like, I think that if you are seeing what we're seeing and then you're like advocating for it or support it or like actively trying to deny it so that it can go forward, that makes you a genocidal maniac.
I think it's pretty obvious, right? Like imagine someone who and maybe this is the nuance of the question, so are those Zionists who just like interrupt people who put forward facts in their position?